very well be. When this offense is smashing, it's wild. They smash bad pitching, and they take it deep. It's an incredible run that they're on. And then, unfortunately, you have the same problems from Taijuan Walker, where he can't get out of the first inning without throwing 25, 30, 35 pitches. And hopefully he's limited whatever damage has been caused. So this team ends up in a lopsided game where if your starter could give you 7 innings, you'd be golden. Instead, you get that. And you have to go to the bullpen, and you have to end up using 5 bullpen arms or something like that last night. It was ridiculous. And to me, that's where this Achilles heel is. I mean, the Padres are 9 games under 500. They're not the Braves. They're not the Dodgers. If your bullpen can't hold down the Padres, you're going to. It's going to be a challenge in the postseason. You can't have starters going. They can't give you a minimum of 5. This team will not win anything if that's the case.
Yeah, Walker's been a little disturbing lately, and as you said, like the starts are just not good. Early inning problems, throwing way too many pitches. We talked about at the beginning of the year how his emotions seem to get him on the mound an awful lot of times, whether good or bad. You know, turning his back to the catcher before Realmuto could throw the ball back to him, different things like that. I don't know if there's a frustration there that he's not finding himself early in a game, or if it's a whole year thing. I don't know, but you're right. They got to get righted. That's 2 days in a row now that you had to use 5 pitchers, 5 relievers. It's
absurd. I mean, that's crazy. In a game, you were up 9-1.
Yeah.
And Connor, the bats. Let's go on the positive for a second. The bats are ridiculous right now. They're feasting on. If you're a mediocre pitcher, you got no shot against this club.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen an offensive stretch like this from the Philadelphia Phillies. I can't remember the last time I saw them swing the bats like this.
I can't either.
Even the really good stretch in 08, 09, like they'd have good stretches. This is above and beyond. They just hit multi-home run games every night. But the pitching seems to have undone it recently, or tried to over the past couple games.
What's more prominent, though?
Well, they're winning.
Is the bullpen problem more prominent? Yeah, but they're winning it. Like, that's a team that's 9 games under 500.
No, I got you.
You're not going to face them in October. The Padres are going to be watching the Phillies on TV.
You're not wrong. Like, the Padres have issues, but there was a point during last night's game when the Padres were coming back, and the lineup, it was like Soto, Tatis, Machado, Bogarts. I'm like, oh, yeah, this is a really, really hard stretch to get through, regardless of where this team is record-wise. So they have some really good offensive players. They just have major issues with, like, the build of the team.
It is wild to see that lineup.
Oh,
that's a really, really good team.
I don't know how
they're so bad.
Exactly. It's almost as if, I don't think their lineup's as strong as the Phillies, but it's comparable. And this would be comparing the Phillies having a season like the Padres are.
Do you think that the Phillies broke them last postseason? Because one of my buddies last night is like, the Phillies broke the Padres because there's no reason. Last year's postseason just crushed them. Because there's no reason they should be this bad.
Yeah, I think the Padres broke themselves. I think that locker room had issues long before they played the Phillies with the Tatis stuff. When you have a young superstar that doesn't seem as committed to the team as he needs to be, that can totally ruin the relationship.
You think they'll move him on?
I don't know what they're going to do, but they've got to make some drastic changes because Soto's contract's coming up, and that team is in a rough spot right now.
It's a rough one, but that's great for the Phillies because right now they sit atop the wild card standings. And I had said that this Tuesday, this is the date that I had circled, and I said by the time this team we would get to this Tuesday's show, that I wanted the Phillies to be comfortably ahead in the postseason. They're 5.5 up. I think 5.5 up with 25 to play, 25 games to play is more than comfortable.
Yeah, they're fine.
They're fine to get in.
They're fine, John.
Now you got to beat the Cubs.
Yeah, you do.
And the Cubs are rampaging right now. But the Cubs have 7 games with the Diamondbacks next week, starting this weekend. So the Diamondbacks and the Cubs right now are second and third in the wild card race. You figure they're playing 7 times. I'd have to think, Bob, it's at least going to be like 4-3 one way. If one team goes 5-2 in those 7 games, they're going to put the other one in the rearview mirror most likely.
Yeah, I can't. You can't say they have the top wild card spot locked up. No. Obviously, but if they just keep playing the way they're playing, I don't even have to look back at the Cubs or anybody else. I just think all right, they'll be okay. I mean, they're 15 games over 500 now. They're finally forming into the team that we thought they were going to be. And 9-7 games, and we said it before the season started, 7-5 games, just might be the norm.
They are where they were last year, too. They're sitting right where they were last year. Now, last year, we'll talk about it a little bit later on. Last year was a disaster in September.
Yeah.
But then they turned it on. So who knows what's going to happen. But the top wild card is going to require some work because the Cubs aren't going away. I just want to make sure they get that. Like I want them knocked down to like where it's 4 or 5. So the last week leading into the wild card series, that bullpen's getting rest.
Absolutely.
I want to see the bullpen guys getting some rest. They need it.
That's the goal. You ready for my Labor Day weekend Phillies hot take, though?
What is the Labor Day weekend hot take?
Losing 2 of 3 to the Brewers is going to help the Phillies because
they lost 2 of 3 twice to the Brewers.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're let me get this right again. They are 2-4 against the Brewers. They're 2-4 against the Braves. They're 2-4 against the Dodgers.
Not so much because the Brewers are a postseason team or anything like
Why?
that. Because the Cubs are so hot right now, there's a chance the Cubs could catch the Brewers.
They're only 2.5. They're only 2.5 behind them.
And I'd much rather play Chicago than that Milwaukee team and see Corbin Burns and Woodruff and Peralta. No, I don't want them. I want Chicago. And if you had knocked the Brewers down, it gives the Cubs a better chance to win that division. And you got Milwaukee coming in here with a really good top 3.
That is, yeah, it would be brutal.
Now, not that the Phillies want to lose games to Milwaukee, but it could end up being a blessing if that division's won by a game or 2.
Well, if it's a game or 2, though, they wouldn't be able to set up the 1, 2, 3. You might have to empty the.
They might throw them on short rests. Like, right. I don't know. I don't want that Brewers team in the least.
I don't want the Brewers either.
So,
the Brewers look a little bit to me, remind me a little bit of last year's Phillies, where they're sort of rounding into shape late in the year. Now, we'll see what they do in September. They might not wet the bed in September the way the Phillies did last year.
They don't have the offensive ceiling, but their pitching's pretty darn good.
I go back to, if the Phillies keep playing like this, you really don't have to worry about who's on the other side all that much.
Well, you never worry about the other side.
I do worry about it, yeah, but until within is taken care of.
Well, you don't worry about it.
I don't worry about it. The concern is the pitching right now, and it's plain and simple. Can your starters get you something? Nola, of course, does the up and down stuff that he looked horrible again the other day, and you just can't find consistency. And we'll talk more about it when I do the column later on, but. That's just what is wildly maddening is the inconsistency. And I'm not talking about one spot. You're talking about a whole thing. The hitting could be great, the pitching's bad. Pitching could be great, the hitting's bad. All of the things coming together, there just hasn't been that consistency all that much this year.
Cooney's column comes your way at 7:20, by the way. So if you want to save the $2.95 this morning, you can get Cooney's column coming up at 7:20. Phillies play tonight in San Diego at 9:40. Did you hear the Philly Sports Trips group, and did you see them? And I know it was the Philly Sports Trips group because I recognized a couple folks. They were loud. They were making noise, and in the 8th inning, the Eagles chant started. And I can tell you, Scott Fransky, I was listening at that time. I had to go to bed, and so I put it onto the app. And Scott Fransky and them, you can tell they're not pleased when they hear Eagles chants. I think it's awesome. I think it's Philadelphia pride, especially on the road. At home, I don't like it.
Okay.
The home games, I don't like it. On the road, I love it because it's like, we're here, and we're obnoxious as hell.
Yeah.
We're taking over your building.
Just in case you don't know we're here, let's get a chant for another hometown team that you'll know.
And Philly Sport, you don't like it?
You hate it.
I like it in a blowout. I don't like it as your pitching staff is collapsing and you're playing a tight game late that you just start chanting about the football team.
Well, maybe that's why.
You know where Philly Sports Trips is? You know where they're staying? Margaritaville.
Are they? Oh, jeez.
What an ironic week to be at Margaritaville, and I have a feeling they were well margarited up by the time they entered the building. If I know Vince Rizzuto, there was Philly Sports Trips. There was some margaritas were being had before that 4:35 start.
It was a holiday.
Yeah,
can you blame them?
Hey, ticks are in season. You got to watch them, especially if you're drinking margaritas. And many carry diseases, and they can be found in fields and fairways, at picnics and parks, backyards, baseball fields. Protect, check, remove. Learn more at health.pa.gov/ticks. Paid for with Pennsylvania taxpayer dollars.
I
picked a tick off me the other day.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah, off my leg.
Ooh.
And I had, and we have deer in the backyard, so the deer are really enjoying our backyard now.
Yeah.
They're just always there.
We saw a bunch of them when we were going to and from the shores a couple of times during the last week. It seemed to be deer everywhere. Stay away from that. Lyme disease, I had it.
Ooh.
It's horrible. It's absolutely no fun. But what I wanted to get to was if you need to take a couple days off, John, and stay home at your Westchester abode to find this creep that escaped from prison, I think the cops need all the help they can get.
It's around.
Can you just go out with a huge flashlight and find this guy?
I think it's around now. Now you know that I think that I would have a plan that would find him.
I'm sure you would.
There's like I think we're probably like 5.5 miles to the prison. So I don't think he's made his way over to our house.
No, I don't think he's gotten that
But
far.
if he shows up, I promise you there is a mad Latin woman that will make him regret that he showed up at our property. Let's just say he will not be happy. She will not be greeting him with a warm and fuzzy. Well, it will be warm. It'll burn once that comes. So I can't believe they haven't found him.
Well, what's weird is I was thinking of this last night. So we're all sitting around watching the Phillies game, obviously, and that's what we do. We watch sports. We love sports. What is a fun distraction for you in life that like just catches you off guard? And this is one of them, a manhunt.
The manhunt.
The manhunt's pretty cool. We don't want anybody to get hurt except maybe him. But
no, I want him hurt.
It's kind of cool. Man, they can't find this guy. It's not cool for the residents there, and a lot of people are being put out. But what are some of the things in life that distract you from sports like that? That might be my top one, a manhunt.
There are literal areas where, in our area now, where when you drive by, they're checking cars on the way out. So you have to show ID to take certain roads that you live off of them, and that when you're trying to exit in a car, they're going to check your trunk and make sure that there's nobody in your trunk.
So what's the deal? This guy escaped from prison and he's just gone?
Walked out. He was sentenced for murder last week.
And just gone now.
To life in prison last week. He walked out of the prison. He walked out and walked away. Somehow. That's it. I tell you, I'm not pointing fingers. Somebody was in on it.
Normally they don't let you do that.
Yeah, somebody was in on it. I'm guessing.
Okay.
But the thing is, I said, look, there the other day. So we're in downtown Westchester, and they closed school on Friday at Westchester University. They were afraid that, he might show up on campus. He is a 5-foot-tall man. Now, he is violent, but he's a 5-foot-tall man. He would be he's so easy to spot. Seriously, a 5-foot-tall guy on the street stands out as much as a 7-foot guy. If you see a 5-foot guy, you're looking and going, man, that guy's really short.
Yeah, so I heard most recently.
Was Egan in cuffs this weekend?
Oh, that's
yeah, beat me to it. I was going to say he's wearing a Temple hat and a Philly sweatshirt. If you see him, some broken glasses.
Kind of odd that he's off.
Just take him down.
Isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
I got to
haven't
tell you,
heard from him.
The one guy on the news saying, yeah, he was in my house, and I flicked the lights upstairs 4 times, and then he flicked the lights downstairs to tell me he was
They
there.
were talking in Morse code.
I'm like, I don't know. That story sounds like complete horse crap. And, of course, he has no cameras to back up the story. I got to tell you, it sounds like a horse crap story. There's no way. Someone breaks into your home, and you're flicking lights upstairs. I doubt they're playing a game with you flicking the lights. That doesn't seem believable to me at all. I'm not falling for that.
It's strange. Strange way to lead into Eagles Week, isn't it?
Yes, it is. The opening of Eagles Week.
Yes.
By the way, our friend John Maley, and congratulations to them, the Maleys, with Johnny is now. So Johnny they've gone with as the name.
Oh, nice. Congratulations.
So Johnny is the name. And he says when you spend $1 billion on your 2 to 6 hitters, and then you have to trot Rich Hill out onto the mound. Rich Hill was throwing batting practice yesterday. I mean, that was terrible.
Yeah, watching those Phillies bats yesterday was so much fun. Early on, especially.
Bob said it best. It's Eagles Week, the first one of the year. And Nick Sirianni on the road to start the season. What's the NFL have against him? 3 years in a row. We'll get to it next. John Kincade Show here on 97.5, The Fanatic. I love Landis Block and Concrete. You know that. I've told you about them. They helped us build our beautiful backyard.
Listen to 97.5 The Fanatic everywhere on Alexa at 975thefanatic.com, The Fanatic app, and now on Odyssey. Now, back to the John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic, Philadelphia.
John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic. You want to come on out and watch the show Friday? It's our first football Friday. We put it off by a week to kick off the Eagles season, and we hope that you're going to be with us. There are some seats remaining to be able to come out on Friday morning. We'd love to see you. So if you're ready for football season, you want to be a part of it, Eagle gear yourself up and come on by. We look forward to it. You got to go to the website, 975thefanatic.com. Connor, it's there, right? So people can get themselves on the list. It'll be a first come, first serve. So you're going to want to hustle on that, and we would look forward to seeing you on Friday. As we get rolling here, the NFL makes Nick Sirianni start out on the road every season. Okay, it's only been 3. But every single year, the Eagles start on the road. The Eagles deserved to open up at home this year as the NFC champions. In fact, it's extremely rare that they make the runner-up in the Super Bowl start on the road. They usually let them have an NFC champions or an AFC champions have it. So enough sour grapes for me, but I think that sucks. And so hopefully they'll get to start at home one of these years. But what do we know about Nick Sirianni in openers? His offense, both years, clearly ready for prime time, scoring in the 30s. So we know the offense seems to be clicking from week 1, and they're ready to go. The defense, some bumps in the roads the last 2 years. Last year's defense was awesome. One of their worst performances of the year was week 1 against Jared Goff and the Lions. And they had trouble covering running backs out of the backfield, which they now have on their team. They had trouble with Jared Goff. Jared Goff had a spectacular, especially second half, and they couldn't put the Lions to bed. The year before, they had taken a Falcons team, and I think they literally stepped on their throat and then just kept them comfortably behind. He's 2-0 in openers, so the Patriots await. And I wrote a piece for 975thefanatic.com this morning, and we'll talk about it more in detail later on. But the Patriots, you're going to hear a lot of hype. This isn't the Patriots you're used to. But Sirianni, for the third year in a row, Nick Sirianni, for the third year in a row, has to enter on the road. But he seems ready to do it, Bob. The offense seems ready, that this is a team you can count on to be able to go on out there and put 28, 30 points on the board on the road.
Which is funny because, you know, what's the saying? Defense travels, right? I don't mind them starting on the road, in all honesty. I kind of prefer it. I really do. It sounds weird. But if you have a home, so think about, and John, you remember this well, think about the home opener after they won the Super Bowl.
Oh, man. They
got booed at halftime.
They did.
Going off the field it was against Atlanta, I believe.
Atlanta.
Right?
It was Atlanta.
Yeah, they were getting booed going off the field. You come into an opening game, there's going to be some flaws. There just has to be. It's rare that a team comes out on all cylinders and everything's going well and perfectly in the way you want it to. I'd rather that happen on the road. Last year, if you remember, they got a big lead on Detroit and then kind of just held on. And it was ugly, and you don't like that. It leaves a bad taste kind of in your mouth.
38-35.
Yeah, but you feel better because it was on the road. Okay, it's a win. Everybody comes away just saying it's a win. If you're watching that game at Lincoln Financial Field and you come away and you're like, oh, man, what the hell?
What's going? You can't put them away.
You know, so I don't mind because there's a certain humbleness to going on the road. You know, you're the underdog in that nobody there is rooting for you. You're not coming out of your home tunnel. It's not home cooking. Nothing of that. I don't mind it, especially when a team has the expectations that this one does. You're opening up 4 of your first 6 games on the road. That I don't love, but I don't mind the opener not being at home.
This one, do you like the NFC champion should open at home. You're one of the 2 championship clubs, AFC and NFC. You should get a home opener.
I guess
there's going to be a banner.
It doesn't really bother me.
No,
because this team's they're good enough. Like if they were opening on the road against the Chiefs or the 49ers or the Cowboys or something, a team that I think could give the Eagles some major problems, it would annoy me because I don't want them to start 0-1. But I think you can play the Patriots on the moon. The Eagles are still a better team than them, and you'll get the banner celebration when you get it.
Oh, you're going to get it on Thursday night.
Against
the Minnesota Vikings, which, by the way, I didn't tell you. We didn't talk about it. Met your lovely mother and she wore her Viking stuff to FanFest.
Yeah, unfortunately.
No, it was awesome.
I tried to get her kicked out, but
She is lovely.
she's great.
She is absolutely awesome. Your mom is so cool. And it was great to see her.
Yeah.
And but I really hate her next week.
Well, no problem. They're scared to go because they know the Vikings are going to lose, and it would be the second straight Eagles home opener that they smoked the Vikings.
Yeah, I don't need to see your mom next week. For next week, your mom goes off the list. She is on my A list now because she's a sweetheart.
She's great.
But I got to tell you, she's not welcome.
Yeah, I'm not answering any text messages from family
or
next
your
week.
brother.
But
Your dirty, rotten scoundrel brother.
we got to get through the Patriots first, though. We'll worry about the Vikings.
And then you'll say we're on to Minnesota
And then
at home?
No, I'm not Belichick.
And then now, will you watch it with your family? I know we're skipping
Hell
a
no.
week, but okay.
No
Just wanted to
chance.
make sure.
No.
No, we don't let that happen.
No, they don't want to watch it with me. I'd be fine to watch with them because the Eagles always smoke the Vikings. But they don't want to sit by me and hear me yell at them.
I hate the Thursday night game, but I think it's good to get it out of the way. Even though it gives you an extra bye week.
I don't like
And
it this early.
I think if you had it later in the year, you get the extra bye week because you get another weekend off.
All right, let's do it this way. Maybe I'll make you feel better. As much as you don't like the Eagles being on the road to start, would you rather them be home and then be on the road for the Thursday game?
No, absolutely
See?
not. No,
So
no,
there
no,
you
no,
go.
no.
There's your
So,
trade-off
there it
to make
is,
you
there it
feel
is.
better.
Yeah, and they wanted, I guess, Amazon wanted the Eagles early on, and it was a quality game there, so it'll be good this weekend. Rachel Nichols had some choice words on what we should expect when James Harden comes to training camp. She was on with that Skip Bayless dude, as he's like, I think, auditioning 1 million people to try to fill in on that show and to find a way to keep it going. And Rachel had this, is to say, what should expect? Will James Harden show up to play for the Sixers? Here's what Rachel Nichols had to say.
Can you see James Harden playing for the Sixers this season?
I can. And look, Daryl Morey is a bit of a wizard when it comes to trades, so he definitely could pull off a last-minute deal, even though they're officially not talking anymore. That being said, if James Harden is still a Sixer when training camp opens, I expect James Harden to be there for a couple reasons. First of all, you can't hold out in the NBA. It's not like the NFL. In the NBA, if you hold out, your clock stops on your contract. The other thing is that we've seen this movie before, right? Harden has asked out of Houston. He's asked out of Brooklyn. Both times, he still played for those franchises. Did he play well? Did he give his full effort? Not always. Was he disruptive to the team? Often. But he was there.
And, Bob, that is exactly how you have been directing our audience to believe this would play out.
Well, there's nothing
Harden
else
will
that can
be
happen.
there. He'll be there. But like as Rachel Nichols points out, is he going to give his full effort? History would tell you no.
He's got to be there when training camp starts. And Rachel Nichols points it out that this isn't the NFL. You sit out, your contract becomes.
You got to be there.
Yeah. I still find it hard to believe he's gonna. I'm gonna watch him dribbling up the floor. I'll tell you what. I'll be surprised I see him dribbling up the floor wearing that number 1 uniform on opening night.
But you've said he'll be there for training camp.
He has to be.
Right. And then hopefully they get a deal done. Now, Rachel said, too, there's more to this story, though, and what kind of circus could this potentially be?
Everyone's familiar with this act. The NBA has already fined him for what they say is not intention to follow through with his contract. So there is a microscope on him, and if he tries that stuff again, I think there might be some action from the league, and certainly the Sixers would be in their right to ask for that.
What?
Some scrutiny. I mean, look, they've already fined him,
Yeah.
so they can do that again if they feel like he's not following through on his contract. I mean, he's a contract to play for the Sixers and gives his full effort. Now, if I'm James Harden, the person standing in the way of me getting traded right now is James Harden. It's the fact that he has this attitude, that he called Daryl Morey a liar twice. If you are going to take on his $36 million salary, do you want a guy who you think by the end of the season might be a malcontent in your locker room?
I got to tell you, Rachel Nichols is saying exactly what I've thought about James Harden all along. This is the kind of guy he is. His word means nothing. His commitment means nothing. He's committed to one man. It's James Harden. And I don't think you're going to win with him. I don't think he's a winner. And I think he's a great stats accumulator. And that's very damning. And she's covered the NBA knee deep. I mean, she's been there. And I don't think this is going to, I'm hoping this toxic stew doesn't become our daily headline every single day.
I'm sick of it already. I am literally sick of it. I can't believe the fans have to go through this again.
Yes.
I do. I feel bad for the fans because, when I used to be a writer and what we do, it's all about the fans. It's all about, giving them knowledge when I was a writer about what they don't have access to, giving them the story. Well, I just can't stand talking about this story anymore. And if there's a business model that needs to be shown in the NBA to a player of how to handle yourself, you put a big headline on there and it says this is not what to do, and you show what James Harden has done since Christmas on.
By the way, Connor, I ran into former 76ers coach Doug Collins this weekend.
Oh, did you?
And we are expected to address, I was told that we should address Bob as Coach Cooney, because that's what he calls him. He said one of the most, and I quote, the great Doug Collins, Hall of Famer, Bob Cooney, one of the most knowledgeable media members that he ever dealt with in any city. Bob, that's high praise. That's high praise. I mean, that's pretty,
Doug's a good guy.
That's high praise, though.
You sure it's our Cooney?
Well, yeah, he said. No, he knew.
There's not another one?
No, he knew. It was.
Well, we have two of them. So.
To Kevin Cooney, he didn't really he didn't have much of a relationship with. But Bob, that was so. We're supposed to. He says you address him now. When Doug Collins tells you to do something, you address him as Coach Cooney when you're talking basketball. He said because that's what I do.
Well, that's what you have to do. Doug Collins didn't say that to me. If you want to do that, you can. I'm still going to call him Bob.
Hey, the Bet Park Sportsbook app. Make your pro and college football bets now on the Bet Park Sportsbook app. You got to be 21 and in Jersey, Pennsylvania, or Ohio. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. What about the whining about people with Penn State trying to get out there and score and cover the spread? What the hell's with all the whining? You play football. You play football till the last minute. And there's nothing better. I will tell you this. Steve Spurrier told me flat out, he said the biggest BS you get from coaches is, oh, I don't know what the spread is. I don't know what it is. Every coach tells you, hey, you know what? They think you're 16-point underdogs this week. They think you're 8-point underdogs. They know the spreads. And there's nothing better than sending your alumni base home happy than covering the spread. James Franklin, and I'm defending Penn State, which makes me want to throw up in my mouth. But you're supposed to play. You're playing. And your backup players, by the way, are in the game. And when they're in the game, what do you want them to do? Put backup players in the game and have them just, okay, now we're just going to kneel down. No, let them play. Let the guys go on out there and try to score.
Yeah, I don't mind that. Like, look, if I had a kid that was good enough to be on a college football team, but not good enough to start, and then gets in there, yeah, I don't want to see him kneeling down, and you would hope that opponents would understand that too. But it's that fine line that we all know about. And
I hate the idea of guys when you put in some of the backups, and they get their moment to shine, dude. You go on out there and you play the game, Connor. That's what they practice for. They play the game, not to sit there and kneel. Why would they do that?
Kind of right. Kind of get why people would be a little bit annoyed with it. It's weird, right? It's very collegiate. That doesn't exist in the NFL because you don't want to run. There's no real reason to run it up like that. But in the collegiate game, too, margin of victory matters so much. You have people voting.
Eye test.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You got to understand, people are watching these games to vote on who makes it in. It's not you win this many games and you're good. So I get it in that aspect, but I also get how people who maybe watch the NFL more see that as running it up for no reason, just to beat up a lesser opponent.
And to cover the spread.
Right. I don't hate them doing it, and I don't blame people who might have been a little bit annoyed. I think there's right people on both sides.
That's why it's called gambling.
Yes. Yeah, that is the last time that you will hear me defend. Absolutely have to defend Penn State. I'll never do it again. Hey, in Cooney's Corner, it is opening week for your Philadelphia Eagles, and he's got a feeling about Howie Roseman. What is it?
Now, let's see what's in Cooney's Corner.
I don't know the exact word to pinpoint on it about how I feel. It's not overly bad. It's not overly good in this instance, just this instance. But what in the holy hell are they doing with the linebackers and the punters? You're bringing back Morrow?
Well, you brought him back for the practice squad. So he's a depth guy. He's a depth guy.
He's not good. From all reports that we got, he's not good. I don't care if you're depth, if you're carrying the cups of water on the sideline, if there's a chance you're going to play and you're not good, that kind of concerns me. You had cuts last week. We saw multiple veteran linebackers, that the types of which we've seen Howie scoop up before and come in here and be productive for your team. I mean, we're still going in with Nakobe Dean and whoever next to him, and they're okay with that? It's
So you have
concerning to me.
you have a level of doubt.
I have a level of, the Howie that because John, if we go back on this show, right? Let's go back a couple of weeks ago. And we all said it, right? Oh, don't worry. When cut down time comes, whatever Howie needs, we know he's going to pluck.
Oh, absolutely. We all said that.
He didn't.
No, he didn't.
He didn't. And they're still razor thin at linebacker. They're still unknown at linebacker. And then this punting situation.
Well, I don't understand
with
this.
Siposs. Now, you weren't here. The day before cuts, I predicted to Connor and Pat, I said, they're going to cut Siposs. They're like, no, he's the only punter. And Connor had a great comeback. I think it was you, right?
Yeah.
Where he said, well, he's the holder on kicks, so I don't know if you're going to let him go.
And that is a big thing for Jake Elliott.
And I said, ooh, maybe you're right on that. And then boom, like a couple hours later, he was let go. What are they doing? Like, you have 5 days or something until your first game. You're still razor thin at line. God forbid one of those linebackers goes down on Sunday.
Oh, no.
You got nothing. And then what? It's just casually, okay, we're going to sign a punter. Now, it could be that easy. Sign a punter on Thursday, and he comes in, and everything's fine and dandy and all that. But this just doesn't seem normal to me.
I'm going to tell you, I believe that it involves Nolan Smith, getting him more snaps. Nolan Smith was lined up at linebacker many, many times in his Georgia career.
Yeah,
so
but
I
he
think
hasn't practiced.
But they see him as a Swiss Army knife, potentially a guy there. I think that they can also line up. You can also, Hassan Reddick can also line up. There's so many guys. They have such versatility on the defensive side of the ball to maybe create this like kamikaze method of getting after the quarterback.
And maybe that's what it is. Maybe Sean
we don't know
Desai
Sean
has
Desai.
that.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. Maybe he does, but it just seems un-Howie-like to me that he didn't pick up some depth. He's still without a punter. You can bring up Siposs, I think, for 3 games from your practice squad before releasing him. I don't know. Maybe that's what they're going to do.
I don't want him there.
No,
I don't want
none of us want
Siposs. I don't want to
Siposs
see him
there.
ever
The
again.
Eagles don't want him there.
Connor?
Well, here's the thing. Like, what has Howie Roseman done over the past couple seasons to make us doubt anything he does? Like, you're right. This is very un-Howie-like. But his track record over the past couple seasons, from drafting to signing to trades, I just say, okay, if he's doing something uncharacteristic, I trust him. He's probably got a really good plan, and let's see how it plays out. Like, until there's something on the field that I don't agree with, that I'm like, they're very thin here and he hasn't addressed it, I'm trusting him blindly.
I hear you. And these things that I'm bringing up, my God, we're talking about a punter.
No,
it's not hard
matters.
to grab a guy who's going to catch the ball and punt the ball for you. But I'm not mad, and I'm not trying to say this is detrimental, this is horrible. My thing is I'm surprised. Like, this seems very un-Howie-like to me.
Bob, you say, we're just talking about a punter, which seems like first world problems.
Yeah.
But a tied Super Bowl with 6 minutes to go, a punter put the Kansas City Chiefs, and bad kick coverage, put the Chiefs on a 4-yard line. I mean, it matters. It matters. And some of these games are going to be tight, and there's a chance that opening week could be tight, as the team gets through some growing pains and everything.
Well, that's always been my thing, that when you're this supposed good team that the Eagles are projected to be by everyone, my first look goes to, okay, what's your weakest links? And the weakest links are obviously safety, linebacker, and in this portion, special teams. And they haven't addressed them.
Yeah, I mean,
this, this could come out. If you see Mac Jones hitting guys underneath, and they have the kid Gesicki or whatever from Penn State, the tight end, who I've always kind of liked. If we see him running underneath and grabbing, 8, 9, 10 catches on Sunday, and there's no answer for that, and he's breaking into the safeties, and there's no answer there. I mean, it's a legit concern going into week 1.
I've got a concern about it. I just don't want to see Siposs ever punt for this team again.
I don't think I'm concerned about it. So if that's the issue week 1, if they lose the game because of that, I would say I can see why they did. But I'm not going in with any concern.
Okay.
Like, they're just so much better than the Patriots. I can't be concerned.
I sort of am leaning your way as far as but just the week 1 thing makes me think it'll be a much tighter game than the talent levels show you. Then I'm not saying much tighter, like you're waiting till the last play to try to clinch it. But I think it's going to be a little bit tighter than people expect.
Yeah, I mean, opening weeks usually
Opening
are.
week, they're weird.
And Connor, it's funny. You said you're not worried about the Patriots. I'm not even talking about the Patriots.
You're talking about the Eagles.
I'm just looking within and saying, I'm just surprised that Howie, who is so proactive in so many things, even to a point where he surprises us, has kind of just let these things go.
It's a strange Eagles season coming up because we're wondering how are they going to answer the bell. But it's been a strange Phillies season. And Connor thinks this item might be one of the strangest. We'll get to it next. John Kincade Show. Welcome back, everybody. It's an Eagles game week, and we're getting you ready for it here on 97.5, The Fanatic. I love my friends at Window Nation. They are absolutely amazing. And when it
Arlington, Philadelphia, a Beasley Media Group station. Official home of the Sixers, Flyers, Union, and the best Eagles talk in Philadelphia. 97.5, The Fanatic. Now, back to the John Kincade Show on 97.5, The Fanatic, Philadelphia.
John Kincade Show on 97.5, The Fanatic. This portion of the show brought to you by the CSB Media Arts Center. Connor's a big advocate for it. CSB Media Arts Center in Cherry Hill, home to Connecticut School of Broadcasting's broadcast media program and more. Find out more at gocsb.com. And Connor Thomas, if you're one of the, things that comes out of CSB, I would suggest that it is worthy of anybody's time.
Yeah, I love them over there. That's my, do they count as my alma mater?
It's not an alma mater.
Yeah.
But it is still something that you've turned into you have proven that you can go there out of another industry.
A lot of people have proven that before. That's the thing. It's not
It's
about
an
me.
amazing. Yeah, no, it is.
It doesn't take Connor Thomas to make CSB great. CSB is great.
On this show, it is about you. But who else do we have? We got Dan Fritz here.
Yeah.
We have, who else is CSB?
Tom Alvord,
Tom Alvord, I believe, is also
yeah,
one of the best voices in all of sports radio. So great job. You guys are pretty good in the weekends.
Yeah, not
a lot
too
of
bad.
fun.
You're going to hear us Eagles post-game now starting this week.
Oh, yeah, it's great. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Good.
Especially the 4 o'clock games. So I could see the 1 o'clock games now.
Yeah, that makes it a little bit better.
Is there a
It'll be nice.
pregame show?
I believe so.
Oh, yeah. Just might be.
You tell me.
I don't know. I think it's going to be me and the Tunis and Mr. Egan.
Okay, that
Look at
sounds
that.
fun.
Yeah.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
You have no idea how fun it's going to be.
I'm going to miss it.
Oh, it's going to be great.
I'm going to miss doing it. I'm sorry, but just get through what I got to get through. Get to Thanksgiving, hopefully, and have something to be thankful for. So, I have a gentleman on Twitter telling me that this is going to be super elitist. But a lot of Phillies fans do not remember what the 2022 team looked like and really don't have a realistic view on what other competing teams actually look like. Yeah, you're right. Matt Winkelman. That is absolutely elitist. And what I would say is, what is the realistic view? I love this. What is the realistic view of the Braves, Dodgers, and Brewers, who you are currently 6-12 against in 2023? Please tell me the realistic view. And don't tell me the unicorn run of 2022 is realistic to happen again, because that rarely ever happens, that the worst team in the field goes and makes it. Oh, well, we're going to be the number 1 seed this time. If you're 87 wins, it just means that there's crappier teams behind you. If you win 89, it does. This team underachieved as far as its talent across the board. You don't pitch like the Dodgers. You don't pitch like the Braves. You don't pitch like the Brewers. And the Braves lost 3/5 of their starting rotation. And people are like, well, the Phillies had to overcome some things. What did they overcome? Missing Bryce Harper for 7 weeks?
Yeah.
Is that what they overcame?
The big offseason acquisition stunk for most of the season.
Their own inability to perform.
Yeah.
Is what they're overcoming.
It is still something to overcome.
They're not overcoming actually having to have great players out of the lineup and then having to put 3 rookies in your starting rotation, and you're 15 games back, and nobody gives a crap about it here. And it pisses me off. As a Philly fan, it pisses me off. Nobody gives a crap that they're 15 games out.
Nobody should.
Yeah.
It's like, well, we're number 1 in the wild card. Yeah, but you're 15 games out. You didn't even compete in your own division.
It doesn't matter. Do the Braves start? Is it like that golf tournament? Is it the PGA Championship where the Braves start 10 runs up because they won the division?
No.
Okay, so you win the wild card.
But it does matter.
It doesn't.
When you have a top 4 payroll in baseball and you go up and you go, every year we're gonna get the biggest toys in the market and everything, it matters that you're 15 freaking games out in your division.
It doesn't.
And
Would you have
never
been pissed
competed.
off last year if you were the Mets and you were 1 game behind the Braves? They won 106, you won 105. Would you be pissed?
Oh, I did not. Oh, I would be pissed because of the way they lost.
I mean,
The way they lost. No, 106, 105, you're in it.
If the Phillies were 38 games over 500 right now, they still be 2-3 games out.
I mean, it is
Connor's kind of right. It doesn't matter.
You never
All you want to do is
competed.
get your consistency at the time when it needs to be there, and that's come playoff time, and that's what the hope has to be for the Phillies now.
Now, Connor saw a milestone that he thinks is really, really wild.
Yeah, it's absolutely nuts. Kyle Schwarber hit his 40th home run yesterday. He has 39 singles on the year.
What?
He's got more homers than he has singles.
Okay, that's wild.
It's insane. And his batting average, I mean, it's just...
Well, that's insane.
It's incredibly low. He's batting 193 right now after yesterday's game. Had a nice day yesterday. It's one of the weirdest seasons I've ever seen from any individual player ever. I think he might have like the lowest batting average of someone to ever hit 40 home runs. He's probably the first person ever to hit 40 home runs before he hits 40 singles. It's anomalistic. But to me, what that says is Kyle Schwarber's one of a kind. He's absolutely unique. And
a unicorn, you would say?
Kinda, yeah.
This year it is.
Well, unicorns are pretty. He's like one of those centaurs where half of him's pretty and the other half's pretty ugly. But
pretty?
It's still unique. He's so good at the plate, and there's no other guy that you can build a lineup around that like looks like Kyle Schwarber. There's just no blueprint for it. So I'm ready to accept it. If he wants to bat leadoff, as long as he's a Philadelphia Philly, he can. I'm willing to say I'm not even considering other options.
Wow.
There's just no other player, probably in the history of baseball, that plays it like Kyle Schwarber.
Yeah.
Well, they're allowed to play it like him.
Well,
because Rob Thompson thinks this is genius.
So, well,
he thinks
here's
this is
the
genius.
struggle. It might be.
I don't believe it is.
Might be. That's the struggle. We've laid out all the reasons, and I argue with one of my best friends on a daily basis. I'll show you a text he sent me last night. 3 more walks for Schwarber, on base 5 out of 6 times. I hear you. Like, I can't deny it. His numbers say no way. Is he a leadoff guy? And I couldn't even give a response of, yeah, but I just let it go. Yeah, you're right. And I'll tell you in the column in a little bit why it's kind of right. But like last night, 2 for 3, 3 walks, 3 walks the day before, 2 for 4, 1 for 4. Like, he's getting on base.
He is.
That's what you want your leadoff hitter to do. And add in the 40 home runs, the 89 RBIs, the 129 walks.
Can you imagine what the RBIs are if he's hitting third, hitting fourth, hitting fifth?
Is the team better? Is the team record better?
We don't know. Can't tell me.
That's the thing. We don't
But the
know.
thing is, it doesn't make sense.
But it's not.
It still doesn't make sense.
That's the thing. You've got to take it even further than that. Not only are you right, it doesn't make sense. It's never made sense. There is no. You'll see something one time where a guy will have a season. And you'll be like, oh, how is this possible? And then someone will be like, well, it's kind of like when this guy did it 10 years ago, or when this guy did it in 1900. This just doesn't happen.
No.
So if Kyle Schwarber's comfortable in the leadoff spot, and if the Phillies win baseball games with him in the leadoff spot, I have no other series or season or anything, career to look at to say this is how they should handle it.
I'll say before John does, I don't care about the comfort stuff.
Yeah, I don't give a damn about that.
And I bet you Schwarber, if Hand put the fire, he's like, yeah, I just want to play. He said it yesterday in the locker room. He goes, I just want to win baseball games. They were asking him about WAR, and he's like, who cares? He goes, I'm not putting down WAR, but I don't care. As long as I come to the park and we win baseball games, that's all that matters to me. So I think he'd be fine anywhere in the lineup.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, I've been the roller coaster. I've been the guy saying, no way he should be leadoff. Then I went to it. Then I went against it. Now you just got to let it go.
I can point to 2 different print columns this year where Trey Turner, on the record before the season, said batting leadoff is really a place where he's comfortable. So what you did is you made one guy comfortable, you made the other guy uncomfortable, and you punted on literally 4 months of the season, because one guy you were making uncomfortable and one guy you were making comfortable.
Well,
so I don't see the genius in that. You didn't give Trey Turner, who you said was going to be your leadoff hitter.
Yeah.
You said it. You didn't give him even 2 weeks at leadoff.
2 guys wanted the position. One guy was going to be uncomfortable. You picked the guy who had the better average over his career, who we believe slump-proof when you signed him.
Well, he wasn't.
So, we found that out.
And he
now,
waited 4 months to
guess what? He's pretty darn comfortable now. And the Phillies are still the top wild card, and they're going to be a playoff team, and it didn't kill you. But if you're going to pick a guy to try and help in the lineup, I'm picking Kyle Schwarber way before I'm picking Trey Turner.
You know, it's funny. It goes back to all right, let's go back 20, 25 years ago when 6'8", 7-footers in basketball started shooting threes. And you're like, what the hell are you doing? Get down on the block. You know, you're not made to do that. And then it grew and grew and grew. And everybody was like, wow, everybody has to learn to shoot threes. Now we have a 7'2" guy that shoots threes, that wants to shoot threes, that can shoot threes. All of that. Things just changed. And whether teams start copycatting this or not, John, it's something to look out for.
You've been with us, Bob. You were at FanDuel doing the soccer kick
Oh, yeah.
thing in the stadium, which sounded pretty cool, which was great. FanFest was so awesome. My first day back since FanFest, and it was awesome. As much as I was able to do, I did, and it was a great day. It was so much fun. What a great job. And two, Todd DeFeo and the entire crew, behind the scenes, and Eric Simon, and all the great support staff here at the Fanatic. That's a hell of a lot of work. Chuck D'Amico, helping to quarterback that thing on the fly, learning a lot of what goes on. It was amazing. That was an amazing day.
Oh, it was phenomenal.
You were kicking soccer balls, and I was up with Paul Reed and talking with Paul Reed in the stage. And Paul comes and does the, as he says, he's shooting threes, which is great.
Yeah.
He's practicing his threes. He goes, wait till you see my threes.
Yeah, and
was great.
I did see some Twitter feeds of him, and I know we all roll our eyes when we see pros in the gym during the summer, but of him shooting threes. Look, he was a comfortable three-point shooter when he was down with the Blue Coats,
right?
Yeah, it's something he's going to have to do. And I said before, I think because of just the way things are, you're probably going to have to throw him in that starting lineup. And if he is out there, yeah, he's got to be a guy that can hit some threes.
By the way, he didn't either remember or otherwise understand the idea that you were one of those guys who has, been promoting him to be in the starting lineup.
He's got a lot on his mind.
He's another one who's a Bob Cooney fan with that. He smiled ear to ear.
Yeah, I just think it might play out that way. I really do think that it might be something that Nick Nurse takes a real long look at.
Did you see Nick Nurse throw out the first pitch of the Phillies, by the way?
Yeah.
You were there that night?
We were there, that afternoon.
That was fun. That was fun, and he did a good job with that. And it was fun to see him. On the broadcast, he was sort of neat, too, when he joined the broadcast.
Oh, did he?
And he was interesting.
I thought it was really cool that not only did he replicate the Kimbrel setup, but he replicated Kimbrel's last couple outings by throwing it low and out. It was just a
that's horrible.
It was good work.
I thought it was good work. I thought it was good work last night. And by the way, I agreed with Philly Rob using him when he did last night.
Yeah. You needed to get to the ninth there.
I think that was the way to do it. And a lot of people I saw on Twitter were complaining about why you're putting your closer in the eighth inning.
Last night,
it was a tourniquet last night. You were trying to stop the freaking bleeding. And Alvarado's going to just give you stomach pains the rest of the year.
Well, he says he found him there. I read a story on it. He lost his cutter. He said he didn't feel right throwing it, and Real Muto noticed it was awfully flat. They worked on it between games, and now he's kind of found his grip better, and they think his cutter's going to come back because between that and the sinker, those are the only two pitches he has. And if you take one away, you got hitters sitting on something. So hopefully he's found himself, and things are going to get better for him.
The 7 o'clock hour of the John Kincade Show is brought to you by the Bet Parks app. If you haven't gotten in on the Bet Parks app right now, come on. Get involved because college football has already begun, and you don't want to miss week one of football action this weekend, and the Birds will be in New England. And I have some facts. Just want to spit some facts to you that will tell you very much sort of what Connor was pointing out earlier. This isn't your daddy's Patriots. This is a different club. This is going to make you sleep a little better this week as you talk about this. I've listed this, too, and you can check out some of these later on a piece at 975thefanatic.com that'll go up a little bit later today. Foxborough, since Tom Brady left the Patriots, they're 18-15 at home. And in the last two seasons, the last three seasons, they're 13-12. I mean, they are a mediocre club at home. 13-12 the last three seasons, 18-15 since Tom Brady exited. This is not any house of horrors or intimidating place you're going into. And people are talking about it being, they ain't losing on Tom Brady Day. I already see that some of that's going on. That's absolutely ridiculous to me. So that's a good number there. Nick Sirianni, on the road, 13-4 on the road. If you count last season, they were 7-1 on the road and unbeaten with Jalen Hurts under center. He's 13-3 on the road when Jalen Hurts plays. That's another great, great number for you. The Patriots have lost their home opener the last 2 years. They lost to the Ravens last year in lopsided fashion, and they lost a heartbreaker to the Dolphins the year before. The slow starts at home also seem to last a while because the Patriots have a very mediocre record their first 4 games at home, especially the previous 3 seasons. They started out 2-2 in 2020, 1-3 in 2021 and 2022. So they just start slowly, get off to bad starts. The Eagles, by the way, not important at all, but it's nice to note that they have a winning record versus the Patriots all time. That doesn't mean anything, but the Patriots are expected to be quite average. 7.5 wins is their over-under on the BetParks app, and I have already bet the under for the Patriots. With the Bills, Dolphins, and Jets in the division, I don't see where the Patriots could ever crack the top 3 in that division. Those numbers...
Yeah, that division is really loaded.
That's
now,
the best division in football right now. Well, we're counting on the Jets to deliver, which might be a mistake on our part because they could be like the dream team of 2011 here. But I do believe the Jets are a winning team this year. I'm not saying any more than that. They're a winning team. They win 9. I'm not saying any more than that.
Hey, look at the season that Aaron Rodgers had last year. He was phenomenal, and his team only won 9 games.
Yes.
Like, it's not a given, of course not, and the track record of the Jets is what it is. But as far as these Patriots go, as the season goes on, with all teams, all sports or whatever, you truly find out what a team is. I don't think this is a 10-win Patriot team. I don't think it's a 2-win Patriot team. They're going to be somewhere in between. The concern or the hesitancy that you may have is what Connor pointed out when you were on vacation, John. He brought it up. First one that I heard. Bill Belichick having this long to prepare for a team has to be something that you consider.
Well, he's lost the last 2 home openers. His team
true.
starts very bad. I mean, he had all offseason to prepare for the Ravens, and he got his ass kicked last year.
Yeah.
And the Ravens weren't even that good last year.
The Patriots just aren't that good. Like, they're a 4th-place team in a division. I understand the AFC East looks really good, but they're a 4th-place team. I don't care if it's Tom Brady day. I don't care if Tom Brady's coming out of retirement to play. Okay, that might scare me a little bit, but they're just
that would scare me. I would feel much worse with that.
They don't have that much. Like, what spots on the field are they better than the Eagles? None. Not a single one.
No, I mean, it really isn't. There's not. I mean, maybe punter.
Well, they have one. Yeah.
I mean,
And Mac Jones, I don't trust him. And Bill Belichick has looked like he's had issues the past couple years without Brady. Like, I look at that organization. They're not what they used to be. And the only thing you might be scared of is the logo because you still remember what that franchise was for the longest time. They're not that anymore.
Yeah, because what organization brought that down? Your Philadelphia Eagles.
I mean, it really is.
I mean, they beat them in the Super Bowl, so I don't know if there's any, intimidation of that.
We're counting on the Patriots, though. We want to be the Patriots this year in one way. The Patriots are one of only 2 teams to lose the Super Bowl and then win it the next year. So you're hoping that we can do what the Patriots did. The Eagles kicked them in the things and took the Super Bowl from them. And then the next year, the Patriots went out and beat a very, very, I don't know, a very good Rams team.
That was the worst Super Bowl ever.
It was terrible. Oh, dude. It was terrible. I nodded off. It was awful.
Belichick yesterday, I'm watching him in an interview, and just, he's so easy to dislike. And then he's talking about the Eagles in his, mundane way of, they're a good team. And then he starts talking about the offense. And I said to myself before, I said, he's not going to mention anybody's name, guaranteed. And he says, and it all revolves around the quarterback. Sure enough, it's just so Belichick-like. He's really hard to like if you're not a New England fan.
I mean, he really is. He's just he's got an attitude to him.
He earned it.
No, he did. But the only thing is, though, when you start to lose, lose it.
Well,
when you start to lose it.
I don't know.
Because, no, you have.
Do you feel the same way about, like, let's say Popovich? Popovich has an attitude about him. He's been losing for a long time now, and he still gets away with it.
Everybody in the world tells me that I would love Popovich. Like, everybody that I know that knows Greg Popovich or has interacted with him is like, oh, God, you would be the biggest Popovich fan of anybody. I find him to be the most pompous leader that maybe I've ever seen. I've seen Deion Sanders now. So I've seen Deion might be right there with him.
He's 1-0 right now.
He's 1-0.
Took down a national championship appearing team.
Yeah, a national championship appearing team that lost by 50-some points in the championship game. They didn't belong. They never should have been there. They won because somebody voted them in. Somebody gave them a vote.
Well, I had to
But
win a game to get there.
I've been told that, Bob, that I would love. Oh, everybody.
Who do you know that? No, I don't. I mean, I've met him and talked to him many
like
times. I
Shaq,
don't know.
Shaq and Barkley and all them. They're all like, "Oh my God, you'd be the biggest fan of him. He's the great." Like they're like, he's the greatest.
Yeah, I mean,
they
Brett
love,
Brown and he are best friends.
They love him. They love him, and they say he's the best, just the best. And but I don't know. There's a certain attitude of when you're winning, I'll take you being all pompous and all like, having some attitude. When you're not winning, I think at that point you go, okay, I'm not winning right now. Maybe dial it back just a little bit. Dial it back just a little.
If Bill Belichick dialed it back anymore, you'd have to take a pulse.
But not the pompousness stuff. And you dealt with these people as a media member.
Yeah.
You dealt with them as somebody who had to go and have their, I guess
have a conversation with them.
And you liked it. Like you think you would like Belichick?
I don't know. I not if he's like that away from the microphone. Obviously, no. I mean, you have a job to do. I have a job to do. Hopefully, we both understand it. If he's as, what's the word I want to use here? If he's as off-putting off microphone as he appears to be on microphone, then yeah, that would make your job really tough and not a lot of fun to do.
Because it seems like he is the people that speak of him highly, and that's it's look. Well, I hope Bill Belichick gets a nice dose of reality this weekend. That the Eagles really give him a nice taste of it.
I think he will. I think they're going to wake them up.
How much though?
Well, I don't think it'll be a big margin of victory.
So you're not going lopsided.
No. The Eagles play teams tight in the Sirianni era in week 1. I know the final score for the Falcons game looked a little bit better, but neither of those two games felt good when you were watching them, so I'm not expecting to see a blowout on the road in New England.
I love that I absolutely love, though, that the fact that this team right now, there's a workmanlike attitude to it. Even though Coach Sirianni, who will talk today, so we'll have a Speak for Yourself with Bob Cooney tomorrow morning, seems to think his team's pretty sloppy.
Good.
That's the talking point, I guess, this week, right?
Good. And look, this is just me. That has nothing to do with anything. I need to hear that there's like a dent in the car. That there's that a tire needs some filling up. Like it's all been rose petals and balloons and ice cream and everything. Like football's not that. Football is, it's a tough game. I don't mind him coming out and saying, yeah, we got a lot of work to do. I don't mind it because as a fan base, as followers of this team, all we've heard is great things, right? Oh, yeah, it's going to be a terrific season. And, I have a subject that I'm going to bring up later that, not to say it's not going to be a great season, but there's a lot of things to look out for here.
Well, look out for this. I told you 7:20 that Cooney's column was going to come your way. So you get the opportunity to hear from Bob, and I believe it's Phillies oriented today. As the Phillies try to climb, in and clinch that top wild card spot, get some rest before that wild card series. It's the John Kincade Show. Glad to be with you on this Tuesday morning. It is Eagles game week. By the way, if you would like to attend First Friday this week, go to the website right now, 975thefanatic.com. We still have some seats remaining, so get to it if you want to be part of First Football Friday this week, which is great. John Kincade Show, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Philadelphia.
Welcome back, John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic. Statman Ark with a number for you that it's not that uncommon for the runner-up in the Super Bowl to open up on the road. I was complaining about the Eagles having to open up on the road, but actually in the last 13 seasons, there have been 7 have opened up on the road, 6 have opened up at home. So they don't care. They obviously don't care about if you're the champion of one, you don't get
Preferential treatment.
No, they don't give you any kind of.
No.
That's surprises me a little bit.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Should you get some kind of a reward for getting to the Super Bowl?
I would think so. Yes.
Yeah, you would think that usually the team that loses in the Super Bowl is still one of the favorites going into the next season. Eagles got none of that. A 4:30 Sunday game.
Well, it'll be the Fox game.
Tom Brady game.
I believe it's Fox gets it. If not, because usually it's the road team that get. Well, no, the rules are different.
Which one? Who's
working this game? This
CBS.
Week? So CBS has got it.
Yeah.
Can you?
I'm like 90% sure.
Can you find out who the broadcast team is, Connor?
I'll look into
it.
It's
If you would do that.
Nance and Romo,
Yes.
I think.
Is it really?
I think so.
Wow, that's
I
good.
thought I saw that earlier.
I'll check.
Yeah,
check it out.
You do that.
That sounds good. Well, then they did get at least they got an A team, there to be able to set up. I want to save you $2.95. You don't need to go buy a Daily News today or anything. All you got to do is listen to Cooney's column now for free.
Let's turn the page and find out what's in Cooney's column.
The bends, defined as injuries caused by a rapid decrease in the pressure that surrounds you of either air or water. Now, most Phillies fans probably don't watch games of their favorite team while deep sea diving, but the highs and lows that this team has taken everyone on throughout the season certainly could be comparable to the bends. There's been a month of phenomenal starting pitching where Zach Wheeler, Aaron Nola, Taijuan Walker, Ranger Suarez pitched to the higher capabilities, and the results were what you expected. Problem has been consistency has been about as dependable as Kyle Schwarber's glove in left field. Speaking of Schwarber, his crazy season just may be the microcosm of what this 2023 Phillies team is. Perhaps the Phillies offensive MVP this season, despite an average that has struggled to be 10 points below the Mendoza line. That's 200 for those of you who don't know. But the team leading 40 home runs, 89 RBI, 129 walks cannot be denied. Nor can the team's 51-30 record since he was inserted as the team's leadoff hitter on June 2nd. That's a .630 winning percentage over those 81 games. Only the Atlanta Braves have a better winning percentage than that this whole season. Then add in this toured version of Trey Turner, the consistent and now powerful Bryce Harper, the trustworthy at-bats of Bryson Stott, the resurgent Nick Castellanos, and so on and so forth when it comes to the offense. All good things right now. And while the bullpen has had some terrific moments that define them as an A-plus team leading up to the All-Star break, they've fallen on injuries and hard times recently. So what's it all mean? That's the point of this. This Phillies team is on par with last year's Phillies team as far as record goes. I don't know what the point of it is. You don't know. Maybe even the Phillies and Rob Thompson don't know either. Of course, predicting sports isn't an exact science, as we all know. And nothing proved that more than last season's magical run to the World Series. Could this Phillies team repeat that? Sure. In fact, they're probably better equipped to do so. But like the Bens, it's going to be a postseason of harrowing ups and downs. That's pretty much all that any of us can guarantee about this Phillies team.
I think that's fair.
We can compare and contrast.
Fair. I get you.
And I can't say never. Of all the sports that we've watched and seasons that we've gone through with all of the Phillies teams, this is one that has had such great highs and great lows, more than I think almost any other in a season.
Is it because of the expectations based off of last year?
Yeah, I think that has to do with it.
That's part of it?
Yep.
I think that must be part of it.
We
came in with, because let's say they had fallen short of the playoffs last year. I don't know that we would feel the same way about their chances. I'll vehemently disagree with one thing in your column, and I rarely do that. And I vehemently disagree with it. This team is not as well equipped as last year.
All you added to this team was one of the best shortstops in baseball.
You did, but your starting pitching is considerably weaker.
Well, that goes
Wheeler,
back.
Nola, your starting three that you'll start in the playoffs is weaker than last year. Every one of them is weaker than last year.
I had this argument with Pat when you guys were out. They're the same guys.
But they're not the same. It's not the same performance. They're
Over
not,
162. They're the same pitchers.
But they aren't, though. They're not doing what they did last
year. John. Their legal names have not changed. They are still the same person. The brain exists.
So what you're telling me is there's a magic switch that they're going to flip, and they're going to be like,
it's not a magic
I'm Aaron
switch.
Nola. I'm Wheeler.
No.
They've
had good starts this year.
Yeah.
All you need is for them to play 13 good games. That's it.
Why do you believe it's going to happen?
I don't.
It has happened.
But I believe
Aaron Nola and Zach Wheeler were better last year down the stretch. And after you shut down Wheeler, you gave him. Then you really got a rejuvenated Wheeler. He was still better. He was better before he was shut down.
Right. You don't have to believe it's going to happen. You just have to believe it's capable of happening.
Well, everybody knows it could happen.
And then you flip a coin. That's how playoffs work in baseball. You don't know.
But you say everybody knows it could happen. None of us knew that the Phillies could get to the series last year.
No, none of us were thinking.
And the reason I say. Look, we just a week ago, after Wheeler and Nola pitched back-to-back tremendous games, it was, okay, this is what you needed.
And then,
here it comes.
Right.
And then, that's kind of the point of the column. The only thing you know is it's going to be an up and down thing. When they're up, yes, they could get there. When they're not, if you're going to get the Wheeler and Nola that we saw crap the bed over the last couple of games that they pitched, or game that they pitched, then yeah, it's not going to be there. The point of the whole column is just what you said you disagreed with, that you just don't know because of the ups and downs of this team.
Yeah, the one thing I'm just going to say is that with this club is last year too, I felt much better about mixing and matching with the bullpen. Much better. This bullpen is terrible. They're terrible.
Before the All-Star, I went back and read stories at the All-Star break, the old let's grade out stuff.
Right.
The bullpen was graded out as A's, and that was just a month ago.
They were, and they've now, but
they've had a rough stretch.
Alvarado's coming back from injury. Hopefully, Sir Anthony, he's coming back from injury. Everything's a hope. I mean, nothing's guaranteed.
Well, it just is that it's not what I would give. And Connor, I'll vehemently disagree with you on this. You said, well, you get to the playoffs, then it's just a coin flip. It's not a coin. No, it's not. A playoff series, when you put teams next to each other, you're saying a coin flip means they're evenly matched. And anything, it's a coin flip who wins. That's not the way it works. Usually, the better team wins. Usually, the better team beats the lesser team.
Somebody had a great...
come on.
Somebody had a great thing on our YouTube chat that said, the Braves have won 22 of the last 33 division titles, run away with it and all. How many World Series have they won? So that's kind of plays to what...
They just won one 2 years ago.
They won one, John.
And we won none.
In the past, how long?
And we
30
won
years?
None. And it doesn't matter. You're talking about a team that's going to win its 6 consecutive division titles.
And they've got one championship to show for it.
Absolutely. How much do we have?
Phillies won it in 2018 or 28.
2008. Yes, exactly. When kids who are kids who are freshmen in college, but kids who are not in college.
You know what
the
Braves have done this year? They have made sure people in Atlanta sleep a little bit easier from April till October starts.
They will chew their nails to the bone on if they have to play the Phillies.
I know. That's what I'm saying. That's why it doesn't matter that you're 15 games back.
The players won't. The fans will. Fans will be anxious. The fans hate the idea. Right now,
fans don't matter.
It's a fait accompli.
I'm just saying, I don't care about sleeping easy right now. I don't care about, I care about them making it in with a team capable of playing really good baseball over a 15-game stretch. They 100% can do that. That's all you need.
When have you seen them play well against good teams for a 15-game stretch?
They swept the Rays when the Rays were the best team in baseball.
You found the outlier. Now tell me about the rest of the good teams.
Seconds.
They are terrible against the division leaders.
Listen, that's not the point of the argument, John. It's really not. You need to see a capable baseball team with a high ceiling.
They're 9-18 versus division leaders.
Okay, it doesn't matter.
It does.
They just hit
it matters who you play, how you play against good teams.
They just hit the third most home runs in the history of baseball in a month last month. Can we not say this is a good baseball team, a really good baseball
who's
team?
Who's not saying that?
You're not right now.
No, what I'm saying
You're treating them like they're on their way out, like they're on their deathbed.
What I'm telling you is that to me, it's crazy to say, oh, it's a coin flip. When the series begins, Phillies can beat anybody. That is not true necessarily. That's an arrogant way of looking at it. Yeah, last year can happen again.
It's not arrogant. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm saying it's possible of happening. There's no arrogance at all.
It can happen at any time. Someone can beat somebody. But is it logical to think this team is going to go and beat a wild card series, then beat another series, and beat another series, and this year close the deal? Is that logical?
Is it logical to think any team's going to do that? It's not logical to think the Braves are going to do it because they choked the bed last year. It's not logical to say the Dodgers are going to do it because, I don't know, you can go past history of what they've done. Their starting pitching doesn't come through in the playoffs. I mean, there's no logic. That's why it's sports. If it was logical, we'd all be rich and betting all the time.
You think these are coin flips? So they're 50-50 series.
I think anything can happen. Were the Phillies favored against St. Louis last year?
No.
Were the Phillies favored against the Padres?
No, they were not.
Braves?
Nope.
No, they weren't. And that's the unicorn season.
Okay, but it happens all the time. I mean,
it doesn't, though.
If the favorite won all the time, John, why are they? It doesn't happen.
The last team in the playoffs that makes the playoffs does not go on runs to go to the World Series routinely. It happens like once every 15 years.
Nor does the best team in baseball win routinely.
It's correct, but it's not the worst team. Rarely,
they're not the worst team, John. So,
they're going to be the top wild card this time.
Yeah, that's not the worst team.
Yeah, it's because the other teams are worse behind them.
They're the third, maybe the fourth best team on their side of the bracket.
I would say they're the fourth best team because they've proven that. They lost the season series to Milwaukee. They lost the season. They're going to lose the season series unless the Braves just shut it down. You're digging a hole in that one.
Okay.
And then you lost the season series to the Dodgers.
So you're a top 4 team.
Yes, you're a 4 team. Yeah, exactly.
So
I think that's where they belong.
Yeah, it kind of comes down to this. Could the Phillies beat the Brewers in a series?
Yes.
Could the Brewers beat the Phillies in a series?
Yeah.
I think it's more like
any other team with that.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Braves, exactly.
Brewers have 3 at home. It's more likely the Brewers, with their starting pitching, it is more likely that the Brewers beat the Phillies.
Could the Phillies? It was more likely than St. Louis. Sure.
Could the Patriots beat the Eagles on Sunday? Sure. Could the Sixers win the NBA title this year? Sure. You could do this in any sport.
That's what you're doing too.
But it's absurd because this team, based on logic, what this team is, to think that they now all of a sudden will play great against great teams when they've played poorly against great teams makes no sense to
2
me.
months ago, we had a conversation, or 3 months ago, about how is this team going to create power? Will Bryce Harper ever come out of it? I mean, we had a conversation that Trey Turner's never going to be the player he was in the past season. It's more likely he's not that player. We didn't have that
conversation.
We 100% had that conversation. And you're on the side that it's more likely that he won't be that player again than he will. And he's on an insane hot stretch.
He's on an insane hot stretch.
They were not hitting home runs at all, and then they had one of the greatest home run months in the history of the sport. Things change.
Okay, and who against the opponents that you got to beat in the playoffs, it's different. You're not going to be playing the tomato cans all the time where you can do these things.
Well, that's when the Phillies are at their best. They proved it last year.
Well, we'll see it. They've been not at their best against the best teams this year.
What was their record last year against like the Cardinals, Dodgers, Braves?
I don't think it was 9-18.
I don't know.
I don't think it was 9-18.
I honestly have no idea.
Last year, I think they lost the season series to the Braves like 8-9 or something. Something like 9-10 or something.
They played them closer. They got smoked by the Mets, though.
Oh, the Mets, they crushed them last year. Hey, at Staples, school savings are always in session. From art supplies and essentials to the latest tech, in stock and priced low. School on, save on at your local Staples store. Okay, I got a question of the day for you. And all fall long on the John Kincade Show, we will have a question of the day. And today it's Eagles-oriented, obviously. It's Eagles kickoff week. Almost everybody wanted Jonathan Gannon gone within local media, the fan base, and otherwise. So we should expect the Eagles' loaded defense to have some transition time. But they're going to be younger, faster, and I'll use Nick Sirianni's words, deeper. So the question I have for you is, what is an A grade in points allowed per game? I realize that there's got to be a transition time. New DC, that I think they'll be a better defensive team in November and December than they are in September. But what would an A grade be in points allowed? And what do you expect the average per game number to be? But I also don't want a bunch of excuses later from the anti-Gannon crowd if this defense takes a big step back, because fact is they shouldn't. This team, Nick Sirianni, he believes they're younger, faster, and deeper. So, I mean, that means you should be this defense could potentially, I'm not expecting 70 sacks. That's such an outlier season. But this team should be better. Or in the long run. Not in the short run. Not in the short run. The first 2 months, I'm expecting some bumps in the road. That we're going to see a new defensive coordinator and transition, and I expect that fully, and I think everybody should prepare for it.
There's one word that I use when I hear Nick Sirianni say that the defense is going to be better, and that's cute. That's cute, Nick, that you say that. That's real cute. No, they're not going to be better. They had, and this is a practice we're going to do later on, but they had a phenomenal season last year. Like you bring up the word, an anomaly or whatever. An outlier,
unicorn.
I can't see any team performing, any defensive team that they have put together right now performing the way they did last year. You're talking about a safety who they let go, who had his best season ever in the NFL. You're talking about two corners who had probably their best seasons ever in the NFL. Slay again, and then a defensive line all across the board that had the best season they've ever had individually. I don't know how you're going to top that. So an A grade.
So but why did everybody hate the DC then?
What's that?
Then why did everybody hate the defensive coordinator?
Because he's a nerd. He's a weirdo. I mean, if he's not doing anything, he's proven it more out in Arizona. I don't know how he's likable. If you didn't like him, he's just helping your cause out in Arizona right now. But he's gone. It doesn't matter. You brought up, what do you think for as far as points allowed for a game?
Yeah, what's an A grade if you were giving him an A?
I'll give it two ways. With this offense, I think you have to look at 24 and below. I don't know if 24 points in any defense is going to be an A grade. So I would say an A grade is 21 and a half and lower would be an A grade.
It's weird. You have 21 and a half. I have 22 and a half.
Okay.
An A, because I do believe this offense is going to put there's going to be garbage time where the opposing offense is just going to be throwing the ball, and there's probably some soft defense that'll come in at the end.
Yeah, I was thinking 20 and change. I'm right there with you. And that's a great point, John. I think that's the excuse that needs to be made right off the bat, that this defense is going to naturally look worse because the offense is going to be better. Last year, there were so many games where you just pounded the rock at the end of the game, ran the clock down because you were up so much. And while they'll do that this year, I do think Jalen Hurts is going to throw the ball more, which means more time on the clock, which means more opportunity for the other teams. If the Eagles' offense scores 40 points a game, well, you're going to get more possessions for the opposing team. I just think the numbers will look a little bit worse because the offense is going to be a quicker scoring offense even than they were last year.
I think everybody has to just give Desai some time to.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it's a transition in. And remember, the Eagles' defense was not good in the first 7 games under Gannon. And then started to take off, and then everything came together. It was all working. Fletcher Cox, remember, went public with some gripes. They sat down, and he then went on to praise Gannon. I had to go back and read it yesterday. He went on to praise Gannon because he said there are a lot of coaches that he had known over the years that wouldn't have sat down and made the adjustments that Gannon did, or have even wanted to have the conversation.
Yeah, the upside Desai gets, though, is that Gannon was working with a rookie head coach in Nick Sirianni. Like, now, you can cover for a couple weeks of struggles. If the team wins ball games, no one's going to be ripping Desai's head off.
No.
So, as long as Sirianni does his job and Brian Johnson does his job and Jalen Hurts does his job, the offense that Desai has on the other side is a lot better than what Gannon came into. So, that's an advantage for him as well.
Is there what Gannon built? Desai's being given the keys to a luxury car. He's not driving some Yugo. Now, you have to look at the Yugo.
Yeah.
You won't get the reference.
But Gannon's not the manufacturer.
No, but he's turned over the keys to one of the greatest defenses. I think is the most impactful defense in Eagles history, and that includes 1991.
Yeah, Gannon was the first owner, but Howie Roseman's the manufacturer.
He could be the manufacturer, sure, absolutely.
Yeah, he built the car.
Okay, let's say Gannon was given, with all the players that they had last year, a brand new Lexus.
He was given a beautiful car.
I would say that Desai comes in and he's got a Lexus that has 30,000 miles on it.
I'm taking that.
You have two corners that are over 30.
I agree with you. I didn't want,
a safety spot that is totally unknown and a linebacker spot that's totally unknown. And you have young players abound on that defensive line. The defense is a question mark. I know we can go on and on and on and say how good we think this Eagles team's going to be, and I agree with that. I think they're going to be a good team. But we can't not look at the holes, and all of them go to the defensive side of the ball.
My biggest fear is that I did not want both corners back. And watch, they're going to go out and have like a great year. They're going to go out and do it all again. I did not want aging corners is something that I can't stand. And you have the oldest, I believe you have the oldest tandem in the NFL, starting tandem.
Yeah, no,
that bothers me big time.
I don't know how much better they could have been if they had gone away from those guys. Like, they could have built towards the future, but I think it would have been a step back in the present. And they're kind of in that balancing act between we have to get younger in certain spots, but we also have to continue to compete right now in our championship window. You're right. I have concerns about them there as well. Like, they didn't add anybody that I like particularly over last year's team, but I don't know. They were good last year. They're probably not going to be terrible even at their worst.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the. Yeah, I don't think there's any way they could be terrible.
No, and that's the thing. The defensive front is so good and is probably better talent-wise than last year. I don't think they'll have 70 sacks again, but I think with the young guys, they have a chance to be a better talent unit, just the front. Maybe that makes up for it and keeps them even.
You remember how bad the Chiefs' defense looked? The beginning of beginning of last year, beginning of the year before, they looked terrible, and they did enough. They were a defense that wasn't highly impactful, but they did enough to win because of that offense.
Yeah,
and I think that allows you to have those growing pains.
When they came in here and played the Eagles, and although the Eagles made it a tight game, we had some disagreement upon, like, I thought that the Chiefs could have scored whenever they wanted. To me, it was a game where Andy Reid's like, man, all right, we got to get this defense figured out, and our offense will just outscore teams, and we can do that, no problem. And they did. They eventually figured it out and became the great team that they still are right now.
Do you think we're going to be sitting there penciling? And we'll talk about this more tomorrow. But I mean, do you believe we can almost pencil in like 31 points a week? Because that's sort of how I feel about this
31's
offense.
a lot.
It is, but I mean, they were like a 30-point team last year.
Yeah, it's hard to say no. Like, the only thing making me not want to say that that's likely is just that it's unrealistic unless you're a really good team. Like, I try and be more conservative than set my sights high and be disappointed if they average like 28 and win a bunch. But yeah, they should be around there.
I mean, I would think this offense should be every bit as good as the Chiefs, right?
Maybe better.
I mean, maybe better. They got better weapons than the Chiefs.
They do, much better,
considerably better weapons than them. I mean, I got to tell you, I'd look at it and say, I think 31 is a number that I'm pretty comfortable with.
Oof, that's
this
a lot
team,
of points.
I know it.
Yeah.
It seems crazy. Like I don't think that's an incredibly high number or outlandish, but it's a number that I feel pretty good about.
Well, the first place, if you're going to compare the two teams that met in the Super Bowl last year, the first place you go is obviously the quarterback position. I like to talk about gaps, like how big is the gap between the Eagles and whoever's going to be vying for that number one spot in the NFC, whether it be Dallas or San Fran. How big is the gap between Patrick Mahomes and Jalen Hurts, do you think?
Jalen Hurts, I believe, outplayed him in the Super Bowl.
I don't think.
I do. I think he outplayed him. I think he was the better quarterback that day.
No.
Even he had the critical mistake.
Yeah.
I got you. Better quarterback loses games all the time.
I kind of lean John's way.
Didn't miss a pass in the second half.
Yeah.
He completed every single pass in the second half.
I saw
Hurts was good in both halves.
Hurts was amazing in both halves. He played 4 quarters that day.
Played a really good game. Yeah.
Until the fumble. The fumble sucks. I mean, because it was the differentiator.
Yeah, it was a game changer.
They
Right.
lost by 3 and everything happened there.
I remember my immediate reaction from that game was Jalen Hurts was the best player on the field.
I think he was too.
So.
And by the way, Patrick Mahomes said he was. Mahomes said he was. Now that's being calm.
I don't buy that crap.
Well, that was a great day.
It's very easy.
He had one of the greatest Super Bowl performances ever a quarterback's had.
Yeah, but it's also
heard
easy.
that. I tell you what.
You didn't watch it that day and feel that way?
What?
No, that's not.
Oh, I
no.
felt that
Wow,
way.
I felt that way.
He played really well. He wasn't the best quarter. He didn't win, first of all, and
Gotcha.
he lost the game. Like, those are two pretty big things to say he was the best player on the field.
If Michael Jordan misses the last shot, it doesn't mean he wasn't the best player in the game.
I mean, it's the one thing I'll remember
that's
is
a little different.
I'm just saying it's possible.
Michael Jordan, you brought up.
That last drive when he tied the game and then got the 2-point conversion, I'll tell you, that has gotten me through the long, cold, what does Anthony call it? The long, cold, no football winter or whatever. That got me through. Because that drive showed me that guy has brass balls. and nothing phases him. I want to get Trey on from Jersey. Trey, good morning. You're on the Fanatic.
Hey, how you guys doing, man?
What's up, Trey?
I had to call because, I'm like, am I hearing this right? Like, I get the part of, like, the Eagles with the offense, but, like, isn't the whole backfield injury prone? Every single guy that they ever played a season?
There's two guys who are injury prone, correct. But you can't say that DeAndre Swift is injury prone. It's not like he's missing. It's not like he's missing gigantic gaps of games.
But he misses games.
Oh, he absolutely does. That's absolutely.
Does Dallas Gollard get hurt? Does Goddard?
Okay, so who are you a fan of, Trey? Tell us.
Dallas. But
I figured as much. So that's all I needed to hear. Thank you very much. That's all I needed to hear. I'm a fan of Dallas.
What gave it away? The Dallas Gollard?
Seriously. Stop. Hey, Mike from Delran, your name's going to come up next hour on Something Secret. What's up, Michael?
Yo, what's up, guys? How you doing?
Good, buddy.
Mike?
You know what? I agree with Bob. When everyone's talking about like how great Jalen Hurts' performance was the best in the Super Bowl, I recall an Eagles quarterback throwing and catching a touchdown in the Super Bowl. So I'm going to have to disagree that was performance by a quarterback. I thought Nick Foles and Tom Brady put on a show that Super Bowl.
They did.
But anyway,
and Mike, we will be talking about you in like 15 minutes.
Oh, 15 minutes? All right, well, you say some nice things.
We'll be here. No, I'm not going to say anything nice. No, of course we will. Thank you, buddy.
No problem. Hey, guys, real quick.
Yes.
It's football week!
Oh, I love that. I love the rational energy level from Mike every morning.
Absolutely.
Got to love that. Hey, we have a lot coming up for you, including, as I teased to you there, after 8 o'clock, some of our favorite listeners' names are going to come up because we have to seat a jury for 2023. And it's going to be a little different this year. I'll tell you all about it coming up. John Kincade Show on 97.5, The Fanatic. Window Nation, man, have they got a great deal for you. Do you know how hot it's going to be for the next 3
WPEN Burlington, Philadelphia, a Beasley Media Group station. Official home of the Sixers, Flyers, Union, and the best Eagles talk in Philadelphia. 97.5 The Fanatic. Now, back to the John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic, Philadelphia.
If you were selected, you received an invite into our Yahoo Pro Football Pick'em Pool here on the John Kincade Show where you could win some fabulous prizes. Everybody registered around here? Connor, Bob, everybody in?
I will be.
Me too.
You have to be in.
You said you weren't doing it until we got back.
No, but we already
Yes,
we did
you
it
did.
before.
You said
we
my
did it before we
device is
left.
gone. I'm not gonna get anybody until I come back. That's exactly what
we
you
loaded
said.
it. No, we loaded it up before I ever left. We did it the 2 days before.
I swear to God, did you not? Did you not
must
say
have been
that on
vac-
air?
You must
I
have
don't
been on
know.
vacation, Bob.
Yeah, but you said you weren't taking your device and you weren't going to do it until you got back.
The people were all but the invites are all there, so they've got their invites. I was home by Friday, so they've got their invites. Everybody's got it, and people registered in. We got to make sure you're in before I invite more people in because we have some more spots.
Gotcha. I'll jump in next time.
Jump in, please.
As soon as the show's over.
I want to be able to invite people now, so please just do me a favor. Just if we could just get people registered. Here's what you want to do. You want to be in? You want to compete against us? You think you're smarter than Bob? You think you're smarter than Connor? You think you're smarter than me? Give it a shot. Get on in our Yahoo Pick'em Poll. Here's how you do it. Send me an email, john.kincade@bbgi.com. If you're already in, you're in. You already know it because you've already registered. john.kincade@bbgi.com. Get yourself, send me a note, say, I want to be in the jury. You must use your name. We got to have your name. So give me your name. Don't give me like Eagle Fan 2023. So I got to have your name. Got to have duplicates because if you're going to win fabulous prizes, you have to show the lovely folks here at Beasley your driver's license to match the name. So I need your name. And we can get you some good prizes. So we'll take good care
What
of
if
you.
I put up my fake ID, the one that makes me look younger?
Liv's got one, I'm
we
sure.
go the back, you and I have to go the backwards way.
Yeah, the back-
kids, yeah.
Connor, did you have a fake ID back in the day?
No comment.
What was your it's statute of limitations is running. You're old enough now.
Well, Rhode Island's right around the corner, and if they find it lying out there, that state could come after me.
You went Rhode Island name.
Yeah, I don't know. That's just what the one that everyone else was getting was.
Well, they now have this website that's really top notch on the web. My daughter was arrogant enough to show it to me.
Yeah, well,
Dad, you just you upload.
She's just doing research to make sure she knows what they look like, so she doesn't accidentally use.
You upload a picture, and it's really easy. So,
right,
John.Kincade@bbgi.com if you want to be in our confidence pool and you haven't already entered. And I need your name to be in it, so we'll look forward to that. As we go, Connor wants to say everybody needs to take a deep breath about the Phillies pitching.
Yeah, and I understand where everyone's at with this, okay? They're driving me insane. Last night, that game sucked to watch from a pitching perspective. I have some numbers here that I want to run through. This is not a guarantee of success, but just a comparison of what you have this year and what you had last year. So right now, the Phillies have a total team ERA of 3.99. It's good for 12th in baseball and good for 5th in the National League. The bullpen at 3.71 ERA, which is good for 9th in all of baseball, 3rd in the National League. So they're not bad, right? They're in the top half of the National League, and they're in the top half of baseball for both of those.
I think it looks good, actually, those numbers, and they surprise me a little.
You think they look good? Wait till you hear what they were last year. 2022, full season. The bullpen ERA was 23rd in all of baseball, 11th in the National League. And the total team ERA
23rd.
was 15th in baseball, 9th in the National League. They're so much better compared to their peers this year pitching-wise, even though I do think...
Even Wheeler and Nola aren't, though.
I know.
Which is crazy.
But they're evening out to a solid pitching team. And I think it's just because this team goes through stretches. They're not a very consistent team. They'll have a month where the bullpen looks amazing, and then they'll stink for a little bit. And when you're in those stink periods, it's hard to put yourself back in the mindset that these guys can be good for a good stretch. It goes back to the whole seeing the ceiling of the team. The ceiling of this team is probably a top third pitching staff in baseball, bullpen and starters included. Last year, I think the ceiling of that team was realistically like the top half of the league, maybe, because the bullpen struggled at points and starters struggled and you had a lot of injuries. I'll tell you what, in the postseason last year, that bullpen that was 23rd in baseball in ERA in the regular season, you know what their ERA was over the postseason? It was at 2.62.
That's ridiculous.
The second best in the postseason.
That's a
only
ridiculous
trailing
number.
The Astros.
Yeah.
So if you're wondering if there's a switch that might get flipped, well, I don't think they can just mentally turn it on and off. But yeah, teams can rise to the occasion. And this team did last year, and you have a lot of those guys still here.
Do you think that the matchups in any way are different this year, Rob? Like as far as the road you would take. I think it's easier. Well, your wild card round should be easier.
Well,
because you're at home.
Yes, and
you're most likely going to be at home.
That Cardinals team had 2 MVP candidates last year. I don't think there's anyone on the Cubs that's quite the level of Arenado or Goldschmidt. So yeah, that's easier. And I do think the Padres were a weaker NLCS opponent than what you'd probably see this year, because I imagine it's going to be the Dodgers if you make it through the Braves. So yeah, there's an argument to be made that last year's path was easier than what this year's ends up looking like.
If you had to guess what this year's path is, what would your biggest guess be?
It
your
would
best
be
guess be, I should say.
Cubs, Braves,
Dodgers.
Well,
wouldn't it?
I wonder about the Brewers. I wonder if that pitching staff is good enough to do something wild and knock the Dodgers out.
So here's a number for you. If the Phillies, because I go Brewers, if the Phillies were to have to go through Braves, Dodgers, Brewers, they're 16-16 against them this year. The teams they had to go through last year, the Padres, the Braves, the Cardinals, they were 16-17 against last year.
They were 16-17 against.
This year they're 16-16
against
the 3 teams that they might have to go through.
They're 2-4. Wait a minute, they're 2-4 against the Braves.
They're 8-11 against the Braves. They're 4-3.
No, they're 2-4 against the Braves. You're looking at last year's numbers. They've only played 6 games against the Braves this year.
Hold on.
They're 2-4 against. They're 2-4. I can do it for you. They're 2-4 against the Braves. They're 2-4 against the Dodgers. They're 2-4 against the Brewers. I know that. They're 5-1 against the Cubs. But you're 2-4.
0-6 against the Giants, I believe, right?
No, they won they won 2 out of 3, right? So they're 2.
Cubs. What are they against the Cubs?
5-1 over there. 5-1.
No,
they're 5-1. They're 5-1 against the Cubs. They are, I believe, against the Giants. I think they're 2-4.
There's an easy way to look.
So they're 2-4 on that.
Is there an easy way to look at it?
It is. It's not that it's necessarily
Doesn't seem like
easy.
it's been so easy so far for you.
I was like, wait a minute. They've played the Braves 6 times.
My bottom line is I look at the pitching and I say it's very easy by the numbers to say the staff this year has been better than they were last year compared to their peers. And this is something that Pat and I got into when you guys were out. Like, the staff this year, numbers-wise, is worse than what they were last year. But compared to the rest of the league, their standing is better. And they also had a big leap in performance going into the postseason, which could simply mean that they just have guys that over 162 look good, that rise to the occasion come postseason. There are players like that.
The thing, though, is they backed into the playoffs.
Yeah, they did.
So I don't remember it being that they raised their performance going into the playoffs.
They didn't have to. They made it in. They raised their performance in the postseason.
And
that's the thing, the lid coming off, right? They had the whole curse of, we haven't made it in over 10 years. Then once you make it in, well, all the pressure's gone.
I think that 9th inning was one of the most seminal moments
for the offense. But remember,
no, I think it was for the whole team. They were not. I mean, it was.
They held
right
the
there.
Cardinals to 1 run in that game, right?
Yeah.
Or two runs or whatever it was. Yeah, 2 runs. Like, the pitching was good even
Wheeler
before
was
that.
great, but that 9th inning was magical.
Yeah, it's where I started to believe for sure.
Like, here's the funny thing about, and it's baseball and it's sports all in general, and we can break it down into can they, switches and who's pitching better now and then and later, whatever. They fired Girardi last year, 7 games under 500. Okay? Rob Thompson comes in. You remember the great feelings that we had. It was like,
well, they won 9 in a row, didn't they?
Yeah. And they turned it around, went 65 and 32, whatever it was, and it was all, ice creams and popsicles and all that. Well, they were 7 games under 500 at 25 and 32 also this year. Do we have the same good feeling now as we did then? I don't know. And it's an honest question. I don't know if you do or you don't. I'm honestly asking. Do you remember this time last year and feeling the way you do this year? Is it comparable? Is it far different, or is it the same?
It's weird. I actually feel better about this team's chances to win like a wild card series than I did last year. But I also remember beep, beep, beep. The last 2 weeks they backed into the playoffs because the Brewers went 4-10. They shouldn't. If the Brewers even played 7-7, you don't even go to the playoffs. They fell apart. The Brewers had a monumental collapse.
Last year we got to remember the ceiling for that team last year, or like the expectation for that team was find a way to make it in. It had nothing to do with the World Series. This year, they're already basically in. So it's hard to not feel better about this team, even if it doesn't work out that way.
We sweated it out and thank God the Astros were playing for nothing.
Yeah.
The Astros didn't have anything to play for.
Right.
Thank God that helped in a big way.
Aaron Nola got you a huge win.
Oh, my God.
Terrific.
He pitched
3-0.
Battled.
Well, no, didn't he have a no-hitter for 6 innings or something in that game? Yeah. He had those 3-game stretch. He had a 3-game stretch that was amazing. And I actually think the game against the Cardinals on the Saturday night may have been better than the Astros game because the Astros weren't playing for anything. The Cardinals were playing for everything and their whole season. And Nola was Nola gave him 7 that night, right? They gave him 7 and no runs, I believe.
Something like that.
He was amazing.
They won 3-0,
He was awesome. That was like 7 innings, was beautiful.
That's all I'm saying is just like they had numbers last year that would tell you that they're not that good of a pitching staff. And then they really put it together when it counted most. And that doesn't mean it's going to happen again, but it means that you should have faith that it's possible that it happens. And there's a lot of teams in baseball.
It's possible, yeah.
Well, there's 20 teams in baseball where it's not. And
they won't be in the playoffs.
Well, there's probably another 5 playoff teams where it's less.
They also are on a top 4 payroll team.
So then you've probably got about 4 or 5 teams that should be believing in themselves more than you, and none to the point where if they face the Phillies, they're not going to be nervous.
It's still, and it's weird because I got literally emails from people when I ranted earlier about being 15 games out, that in a period of time in 5 minutes, 2 people agreeing, 2 people disagreeing, saying like, well, what do you rant about? But it's like, it pisses me off that nobody cares that you're not even competitive in your division. And you got a top 4 payroll, all these stars, and the other team that you're trailing by 15 lost 3 of their starting pitchers and had to start 3 rookies in their rotation.
Yeah.
That pisses me off.
Well, I don't
being 15 games out, but that you never are in your division race. It's this wild card stuff. It's like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, so they're going to sleep easier during the regular season. And when they wake up on the day that they have to play the Philadelphia Phillies, they're going to be a lot more nervous than fans of Philadelphia are going to be.
They can't lose one of the first 2 because they know it. They know what they're coming into.
Right.
And it will make them pensive. So the fan base will be dying.
I don't care if they're 100 games up on the Phillies. Bottom line is they're going to have to see you if you win a wild card series, and you're going to win a wild card series.
Wouldn't it be nice to have your team, though, be in a pennant race some year?
They won the pennant last year.
No, be in a pennant race where you're actually all year long. You're in the race. You're one of the best teams. You're competing for the best record.
No,
when you have a top 4 payroll, you shouldn't expect that.
It doesn't. It's not about expecting. It's about needing to see it.
Wow.
I don't need to see that. I care about the World Series. I don't care about the NL East.
Okay, so if they
I can't help that another team's 43 games over.
So if they lose in the NLDS, you're gonna be like, it's okay. I don't care about the division. I don't care that they don't compete. If they lose in the NLDS.
No, because if they had won the division, I wouldn't have cared if they had lost in the NLDS. Like, if they win the NL East and they go out in the NLDS, I'm going to be pissed.
Yeah, but I'm not saying
the
is that...
The division doesn't move the needle for me remotely.
But if you lose, you'd be losing to the team that won the division. Because right now your path is, if you win the wild card, you're playing the Braves.
Yeah,
there's no wavering on that.
I don't care who won what in the regular season.
I'd rather play the Braves in a 5-game than 7-game. That's the only thing I'd look at. Much rather have it 5 games.
Yeah, I think any team that probably is better than you, the shorter the better.
And
right?
you win one of the first 2 in Atlanta, that entire city will be in just the grip of stress.
Exactly. You think they're excited about seeing Zach Wheeler?
They don't want to.
They're going to show up and think we won 15 more games than them in the regular season, so Zach Wheeler can't hurt us? Like, that's why it doesn't matter to me.
Hey, make your pro and college football futures bets now on the BetPark Sportsbook app. You got to be 21 and in Jersey, Pennsylvania, or Ohio. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. And we'll find out how this all plays out in a little over a month because the 3rd, the 4th, and the 5th, I believe, or the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th of October are the wild card games here in Philadelphia. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. I think it will be imperative to get out in 2.
Tell you what, it's going to be awesome. Like, the wild card race is insane right now. There are 4 teams tied for the final spot. I mean, the Cubs are hot. The Phillies are really good. There are so many interesting teams in baseball this year. Postseason is going to be really fun.
All right, well, let's get to this. Is we're going to bring back the jury for another season. here on the show, but I want to change things up this year, and I want to make it more of an all-star jury. And I don't know if it's somebody that maybe Bob interacts with every day that he, I wouldn't mind if one of your boys you decided to put on our jury. Somebody you knew was a huge Eagles fan. But there are a few that I want to run by you and Connor that I want to say I want back. E-Rock is one of the most visible Eagles fans in the market. He'll be here for First Football Friday this Friday. And I think E-Rock and Mike from Delran are two just sort of cornerstone type Eagles fans that sort of bring the passion, bring the energy, but also bring the criticism when warranted. And I think I could easily see them. I think they both deserve a spot on it. Karen B was one of our best jurors last year. It was good to see Karen at FanFest too. And I wanted to nominate Karen B to be back. We had some other great jurors though, and I wanted your feedback because I want some good, not only good people that are great when they come on air, because this year we will have you come on air the day after the game instead of taping it. The day after the game, you'll come on as part of the jury deliberations, and we'll get it going there. Bob, if you had a thought, do you have a thought of some people right now? There's three people there that I want in. What about yourself?
Those are three really good ones.
Is there anybody you want to? We had some great. Our jurors were fantastic the last 2 years. We had some great ones, and I want to make sure, and I want to leave a few spots for a few newbies, a few. So if you want to be considered, you can send me an email, john.kincade@bbgi.com. You can find the email address on the 97.5 website. I want to leave a few seats open, but Connor, can you think of anybody? You talk to people who call every single day.
I do.
Can you think of anybody that you believe that is like, you're like, okay, love the passion, they're ready to talk it, they're part of it?
Dante from the Northeast is always giving me some.
Dante's really
Dante's good, and Dante's loyal. Dante's okay. I love that one.
Yeah,
I love hearing that. And Dante, when he comes on, I never know what he's going to say.
Right,
because sometimes he agrees. Sometimes he'll be like, "Oh, I totally agree with you," and sometimes he'll be like, "John, I don't know what the hell you're smoking this morning."
He does flip side,
but I love that.
Right,
I love
in a good way.
I love somebody that says, no, I think you're full of crap. So we like that too. On the jurors.
Yeah,
Dante's
you need two things. You need honesty and you need dependability.
Yes.
We need you there every week, and you got to be honest in your thoughts. It can't just be rah-rah, Eagles, whatever. If there's something you don't like, just be honest. Say you don't like it, whatever it may be. Yeah.
And it was weird because our jury last year was like, as the season went on, it became so positive. Like just everything was positive, but I don't think there was anything to disagree with the jury.
No, I mean, some people,
it was a great year.
It's like, what are we judging? This is an open.
It was a great year. And it was awesome. I have a feeling this year will be a little more intriguing.
I hope not.
I think it'll be more intriguing, even though I do think it'll be a great start. We can do win-losses later, Bobby. I think it'll be a great start, but we'll talk about that later on in the week. And but if there's more names that you guys think of, too, we got E-Rock, and we got Mike from Delran, Karen B., and Dante from the Northeast.
All right, the top three are the ones that I had in my mind.
Okay.
Dante's a really good one.
Dante's a great call.
Connor said earlier he wanted Tom from Alabama, but I think that has to be taken out to a jury.
What do you say?
We'll see.
I like Tom, though.
Yeah,
but
we all like Tom.
I like Tom. I just wonder if they say there. We'll deliberate here.
Yeah.
But we got 4 seated.
Yeah, I've got some other ideas.
And we've got some other ideas. We'll get to it. I would say leave 3 seats to newbies.
Yeah, I have a newbie suggestion.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a guy I play softball with who's a huge Eagles fan. He came to FanFest. He's come to an open house before. He's very passionate. And he doesn't ever get a chance. Well, like, he doesn't have something specific to call in on. He won't.
Is he the big dude?
Yeah.
Like the gigantic, like his arms look like thighs?
Yes.
They're like, yeah.
Well, that's everyone on my softball team. But yeah. His name's
Except
CJ.
you.
And he's a very passionate Eagles fan. He's also a very...
Did he come to a First Friday?
Yeah, he did.
Okay, yeah, I know exactly who you're talking
Coaches football, played D1. Like, he's a guy that knows the sport well, too. I think he'd be a good addition.
Okay, well, we'll talk about him in the thing because I think that's good. And, Bob, if you have somebody that you're thinking of that should be on this jury, and every one of us does, maybe we each appoint somebody that, that we know brings great passion.
I got somebody in mind. I have to check with this person first.
That sounds great.
Egan.
Pat Egan. I don't even know where Pat Egan is.
He just got arrested out in
Serious?
They found
Hopkins Township or whatever.
I don't know if they found. Have they found it yet, Connor?
I don't know.
Jeff, they got to. So if you want to be considered for one of the newbie seats, or if you are a returning jurist and you want back in, we can consider that also. We've got 4 people seated. We got to seat 12. So you can be able to do that. John.Kincade@bbgi.com. You can check it out. It's a hard email address. So just go to the website and you can link through to my email there. We would love to have you be a part of the show. So 26 games left. They have 25 now. We're going to talk about where the Phillies were last year and talk a little bit about where we think they're going, but some numbers that'll interest you there that maybe Connor will feel a little differently about than he does. John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic. Look, I'm not a spokesperson. Cooney, attorney at law. Oh, my gosh. Bob, you navigate the legalese like...
yeah, I feel like I'm in a courtroom.
Like, what fictional lawyer would you want to be?
Ally McBeal.
It's a good pick. It's a good pick.
You'd have to sleep with... isn't she married to...
Harrison
Ford?
Yeah. Fictional lawyer.
A fictional
on TV.
lawyer you'd want to be.
Doesn't have to be TV. It could be a movie.
Or a movie. Okay, who'd it be?
Maybe it's My Cousin Vinny.
Oh, that's a great movie.
That's not bad. I was thinking Tom Hanks in The Client.
That's a good one.
It's not bad.
I'd probably go Harvey
Looks better than
Specter
the
from
movie.
Suits.
Okay.
I like to be Scotty Baldwin from General Hospital. But I right now I don't have the hair for it. So, but I'm wearing the hat today. And thanks to Cardinal O'Hara, my alma mater, for sending on a nice hat here. O'Hara off with a big football win the other night, which is great, but also just love repping my high school, Cardinal O'Hara. Thank you so much for the support. Had to do started to have the shedding again. As the hair gets to a certain length, it starts to, like as you put it on the pillow or you rub it against a chair, starts to come off. So Michael Coletti out at fantastic Sal's Barbershop in King of Prussia took care of me the other day, got me shaved down again. I'm ready to go, but I appreciate the hats, and I didn't go into the other mail, so there's more. So much appreciated. Thank you so much for that. The hats are necessary, Bob, because it's going to be 95 degrees for the next 3 days.
Yeah, it's
be a nasty sunburn.
It's been warm out, no question. I wore my Cardinal O'Hara quarter zip that was given to me by the baseball coaches when we were out.
Fantastic, yes.
Yeah, and somebody
a beautiful
on the
quarter
boardwalk
zip.
looked at it and goes, O'Hara?
Yeah,
and
it
I
is.
went, and I just, under my breath, I said, no, Camden Catholic.
But
I had it in the car, and it was chilly down the shore that day. We took Tommy on rides and stuff, and it was a little chilly, so I threw that on. It
nice.
was in my car, yeah.
Hey, shop Labor Day savings at Lowe's. Spruce up your home for fall with savings on a paint refresh. Lowe's knows home improvement. So we talk about our confidence in the Eagles and where we're at. And I personally believe that one team in the division is taking a step back. One team in the division is taking a step forward. And I think that the other team in the division, the Dallas Cowboys, are the biggest threat in the NFC. I may be proven wrong, but the idea or the thought of an Eagles-Cowboys NFC title game, this city would explode. I mean, Eagles-Cowboys, if they're playing for a trip to the Super Bowl, the pressure that would be on the Eagles to close that out would be absolutely huge. And I think it might be one of the highest priced tickets this city's ever seen if those two teams meet. But I expect the Commanders are taking a significant step forward, and I think the Giants are taking a step back, despite their offseason improvements.
I think the Commanders will play maybe a little over their heads early, but then fall back to what I think they generally are. Who's your quarterback there?
Right.
You know, like I still think the euphoria of new ownership and just getting rid of old ownership, that's cool. It's great. Good for them. Happy to see people happy. But like I said, during a 16, 17-game season now, things fall where they should most of the time. I think they'll fall where they should, which I think is about 500. I agree with you on the Giants.
But I don't think it's going to be a big snapback.
Yeah.
Myself. But
okay.
I think it's going to be a step back.
I just don't think the way they handled the Saquon Barkley stuff is as easily overcome as people might think.
Explain.
Well, I think he's been, in his eyes, done wrong by them.
Well, he absolutely said it.
Yeah. So same thing here. Put that situation here. You're a growing team. You have a coach that seems like has turned a corner and has the confidence of your organization now, and your star player is disgruntled.
That doesn't go well.
No.
So, and it also says,
I agree with you saying they're going to take a step back.
Yeah, I think they take a step back, and I don't think it's it. Connor, is it, if I said to you, Giants slightly less.
Yes.
Commanders slightly better.
Very slightly, yes.
See, I love their defense. I think
injured again.
I think the Commanders' defense, though, is sharp.
Yeah.
And on the let's put it this way, on the rise.
Fine. But In the NFL, you win with a quarterback, and they, in my mind, still don't have one.
So you don't see them taking a step forward, or do you?
A slight one, very slight. Not enough that the Eagles even notice.
No. I'm not talking about them. I think it's Dallas that's the threat, and I think Dallas is a significant threat.
Maybe it's a blind spot for me. I don't see them as that. Like, I'm not worried about the Cowboys. Are they probably the second or third best team in the conference? Sure, but I think there's such a gap between the Eagles and everybody else in the conference, including the 49ers. I'm not
Well, you
worried
think there's
about that.
such a gap between the 49ers and the Eagles, do you?
I think there's a large gap.
Okay, well, it brings up something that I wanted to get to, and it just works in good because Bob brought up something that I didn't even know the way that it would roll out. The way that the 49ers are handling Nick Bosa and the contract negotiations, and he's not back. And right now, it's Tuesday of game week. I would believe he wouldn't be playing against the Steelers. I wouldn't think, if they came to an agreement today, I wouldn't think that he'd be coming in and playing this Sunday.
Well, think about this. What's the one, when you're in a contract negotiation, what is absolutely, as a player, the one thing that cannot happen? Injury. And if you go onto a field where your body hasn't gone through what it needs to go through to be ready to play an NFL game at your level of play, which for Bosa is extremely high, I'm not taking that chance on myself. I'm just not. I'm not being a baby about it. But look, if this is what you're holding out on and this is what your stance is, well, the only way you're going to get that money is A, to perform to the person you are, and B, not being injured. I'm not either one of those things yet. I'm not to where I want to be, and therefore, if I go on a field right now, I am more susceptible in my mind to injury than ever before.
Yeah, even if he plays, I mean, even if he comes back today, signs a contract and everything, Connor, I can't play him, and that's one of their most critical road games of the year.
Oh, they'll play him.
You think they'll play him this Sunday?
Yeah, because the game's important and because he's that talented. Like, he's not playing quarterback. Go out there. He knows the defense. He knows the scheme and everything.
Pulls a hamstring.
I guess, yeah.
Misses 4 games. I mean, like, as Bob's pointing out, it's difficult. It's difficult to navigate.
Why would you sign him today if he's not going to play week 1?
Well, you got to
sign him today because you got to get him in.
I understand, but I mean, once they have him under contract, they're going to want him to start earning that contract. Play.
I got a feeling they would sit him. I really do, and I think they'd be like even more apt to go, we just paid him all this money. Let's make sure we'll get 16 games out of him. We'll be okay.
Yeah.
Let's let him make sure that he's ready to go.
And I would hate to be that guy not to be there for my teammates. I would hate to be that guy that, okay, I get signed today and then sit out on Sunday. A, I would hate it. But B, I have to be logical about it too, kind of like what John and I laid out. If I'm not ready to play to my standards and I am risking injury, sometimes smartness has to take over, I think.
Not in this case, baby. Smartness doesn't ever have to take over for me, so you got to understand the perspective I'm coming
Go out
with,
and pop a hammy.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
By the way, Jim Nantz, Tony Romo, and Tracy Wolfson.
Yeah, sorry, I forgot to tell you. I did look that up, but
will be the broadcast team. So they did give him the CBS A team.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
So they got the CBS A team. It's hard now because this is one of those things where navigating, like normally, it would be a Fox game. If the Eagles were on the road at New England, this would be a Fox game. So we'd be getting the Fox crew. And instead, now nothing counts. It's all off the board now.
Oh, it's all about bidding and who can get what, and who has more money for who. And
I want to sit in that room when the schedule's like being laid out to these networks. I would love to be in the room going, okay, now, ESPN, you have Monday Night Football. That is the highest property as far as payment. So you get a first choice for you get 3 weeks where you get to make the top choice or whatever and sit in that room and see what games they pick. I would be obsessed with that.
It's like fantasy football.
Yeah, it is. Very much so.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, Connor, you and I think, drafted a pretty good team.
We'll find out. We'll have to see, but I like what we've done.
And Bob will be brought in as far as setting the roster, too. We'll make sure we got a good roster set up.
Yeah, you missed the fantasy football fight when you were out last week.
What was the fight?
Pat and I were yelling at each other for a little bit.
What was it about?
Yeah, it's a long story. It was about the draft and how many text messages I sent and how Pat didn't communicate the right way. It's water under the bridge.
Are you shocked?
Yeah, well.
Pat didn't communicate well? Are you serious? Come on now. Let's not be fooled.
Hey, he's running in the woods of Westchester.
Yeah, it's hard for him to
Life
answer his
isn't
phone.
By the
easy.
way, how do you not find a 5-foot man in Westchester? How many 5-foot men are there in Westchester? I mean, honestly, there are not many 5-foot men or below in Westchester.
I don't know. I didn't get the census yet this year, but
I would send the biggest dogs that I had, the hungriest, nastiest dogs into those woods, and I would let them chow down. 5 foot, they're getting some good eating there. Because you got to have some.
All right.
You got to have some stuff. No, seriously, I would send them in for some good eating.
I think they just find the guy and send him back.
Oh, no.
Take care of him.
No, let the dog attack. Let the dogs attack. And then you wait, check your watch and go, how much of my taxpayer dollars have been wasted looking for this guy? Let's wait. Let him go.
Listen, the dogs I'm worried about attacking are Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, Jordan Davis, Nakobe Dean.
The Philly dogs.
Those guys.
The Philly dogs are there,
Don't get on
baby.
them.
By the way, I'm following the Philly dogs on Twitter.
Is that a thing?
It is. Philly dogs on Twitter. It's a Philly dogs, and it's good. It's been some good content, I would say.
You gotta check it
So
out.
following on there. Hey, in Cooney's Corner, Bob wants to talk about a lot of great individual reasons last year was special.
Now, let's see what's in Cooney's Corner.
Yeah, like talking about it before, and John, you were bringing up the defense and Gannon and all that stuff. Is it feasible, or are we overlooking some things? So let's go kind of position by position if we do this. Can Jalen Hurts have the same kind of year that he had last year? It was a really good one. Threw for 22 touchdowns, which isn't a phenomenal number at all. Only 6 interceptions. Did rush for the
15?
15, I think it was. Yeah, something like that, because you combined for about 37 and all that. So Jalen Hurts, I think, is kind of a wash in all this. And in the most important position, okay, that's all right. I think the offense probably is going to be as good as we thought and probably match most of last year's numbers, maybe even exceed them. The one part being you had a 1,300-yard rusher. Can the 4 guys combined,
Yeah, exactly.
be able to get that? But then you look at the defensive side of the ball. Can Brandon Graham be a double-digit sack guy in reality this year?
I do not believe so.
I'd be surprised.
I think I'd be borderline shocked if that were to happen. You lost a safety in C.J. Gardner-Johnson that had his best season last year. Best season in football last year. He's gone.
And they don't really have a...
You replaced him with Reed Blankenship.
Ed Reed Blankenship.
Ed Reed Blankenship. I'm sorry.
Put some respect on
in
his
your
name.
2 corners in Bradbury and Slay. Slay played as well as he has played, but he's now 32 years old. Bradbury may have had I read something. He may have had his best season ever in the NFL last year.
Oh no, he did.
So, all right, you're talking 2 guys playing at the absolute top that they can play. Can that happen again this year?
No. And that's why I didn't want both of them back. I do not believe I'm expecting step back at corner.
All right, Hassan Reddick had 16 sacks last year.
Less this year.
Okay, maybe it can be matched.
Yeah, but I think 14, 13, 14 maybe.
Okay, play as well as he did last year. Okay, we'll call that a wash. Is Josh Sweat? I don't want to say guaranteed, but you believe he's a double-digit sack guy once again this year?
I do.
No, that one, yeah, I do.
Okay,
I do. Yeah, and I think Josh Sweat may jump up by a couple sacks, and Hassan may drop back a couple sacks.
Okay. In T.J. Edwards, you had a guy that led the team with 159 tackles. Nobody came close to him. Kaiser White had 110. Is somebody going to replace those 159 tackles at linebacker this year?
That'd be tough to do.
That's a lot of numbers. That's a lot of numbers for someone to do.
Put it this way, 159 and 110 is 269. Can Nakobe Dean and his partner, whoever it may be, combined for 269 tackles?
No, I don't think so.
I don't see that either. Javon Hargrave, who you have to replace. Now, we've heard a lot about Jalen Carter, and that's great, and we all love it, and the possibilities seem to be endless. Can he match Javon Hargrave's season from last year? You're talking 11 sacks. You're talking 75 tackles.
No, I think I could do the 75 tackles. I absolutely think he could do.
Yeah,
I don't think he could get that many sacks right off the bat. But then again, I mean, Hargrave, it was his unicorn year, is the word of the day. That was his. Javon Hargrave never played like that his whole career.
Well, that's what
last year did it.
Either did Brandon Graham. Brandon Graham's never played like that before. Either did Josh Sweat.
And Brandon Graham played less snaps probably than he'd ever played.
Yeah, either did Hassan Reddick, as good as he's been. He's never had, I don't believe, 16 sacks in a season before. Point being, and John, you just hit it, there's like 6 or 7 guys on that defense last year that had career years all at once.
They did.
Right.
Okay, you can't brush that off. I hear I get
I'm not brushing that off. I'm saying if last year we had this conversation, we wouldn't have predicted any of those numbers. And they got them because, I don't know, it's not lucky, but guys overperformed. But the way I look at it, too, so you're right, Bob. I totally agree, and I subscribe to your way of thought. But you don't have to be. Last year, they were the greatest team in Eagles history, I think. That roster
that was amazing.
Was the best team we've ever seen, top to bottom. But they didn't win it, which means that the greatest team in Eagles history is not the one that won it all. And 2017, with a backup quarterback and some other flaws and injured players on the offensive line, and they won it all. So you don't have to be the best team ever to win it. Can they be close to as good? Absolutely. But I think it's a fair argument that they're probably not going to be as good as they were last year.
So when I got my taxes done back in April, okay, Ron Davis, friend of ours, friend of the show.
Heard of him. Love him.
He said this to me, and he sent me a text earlier this morning to remind me. He was concerned about this Eagles team going into this year, specifically on the defensive side of the ball. And when I brought up this subject earlier in the show and said I was going to talk about it a little bit more, he goes, don't forget that conversation we had. And I had it on the show sheet about you had a lot of phenomenal individual seasons last year.
They did.
I just, it's a concern.
No, it should be.
It's legit.
But I don't think that caps the ceiling of the team. I just think it'll look different.
It doesn't define anything.
Exactly.
Well, it's weird as CJ says here, listening in, jumps in on the DMs. CJ says, I don't disagree with any of the points that Bob's bringing up. But he says, but it sounds like Bob's more confident in the Phillies being able to recreate the magic than the Eagles, and I am completely the opposite. By the way, I told CJ, I am completely the opposite too. I have much more faith that the Phillies, much more faith that the Eagles can recreate the magic of last year and deliver to us than the Phillies.
That's a great thing that he says there, because I hadn't even thought of it.
And he agrees with all your points, by the way. He doesn't think you're wrong.
So here's the difference, though. The Phillies' run last year was magical, whereas the Eagles were that good. I think that's the difference.
But it sounds like you believe more that the Phillies can do it.
No,
you may have more doubts in the Eagles.
No, I have concern. I think I'm trying to go another way here because of the Eagles are fine. The Eagles are fine. I want to point out that, there's some places they might not be fine. If the Eagles were horrible, I think I'd be looking at, there are some good things. You know what I mean?
I said to CJ, I think it's Bob being objective.
Yeah, I don't
trying to be objective.
And CJ brings up a great point. I didn't think of it. I don't, and now that I do think of it, no, I don't think I don't have more confidence that the Phillies are going to make a run. I think the Eagles are going to the Super Bowl.
So do I.
I think the Phillies could maybe go back to the World Series, but I don't have as much confidence in the Phillies doing that than I do the Eagles.
And this time the hotel rooms are already booked.
They are. They are.
And there's blackjack tables.
But that's why it's easier to say the Eagles, right? If the question was, will Bryce Harper in the postseason, or Bryce Harper this season, will he be a great baseball player again? Like, that's very easy for me to say yes. That's kind of what it is with the Eagles. We can talk about all the fringe stuff that we want, and they need to have other good units. But the question is, can Jalen Hurts be an elite-level quarterback again? And if you believe that's yes, then the Eagles are going to replicate a lot of what they did last year.
Even though that was the only year Bryce Harper's ever been a great player in the postseason.
Well, it's the longest sample size.
He has 4. I think he has 4, right? 4 or 5
I think he only ever played in the wild card series before that.
And he didn't perform.
Yeah,
it was the outlier that he
play in the wild card series, because prior to that it was a wild card.
They played divisional rounds, but Bryce Harper in the postseason last year was the outlier. Like he didn't.
I don't think there was enough of a sample size until last year.
I mean,
it was like 4 games he played in the postseason before that, or was it more than that?
No, it was like 3 years he went to the postseason in Washington, didn't he? I mean, I got to look at it and check out the playoff stats, but I believe he was think he had.
Bottom line is baseball, there's so much more of a team element to it to me than football, where football, if you have a great quarterback, you're a great team.
By the way, he went 4 times in Washington to the postseason. He went to the postseason.
Okay. I didn't realize that.
It was his 5th postseason appearance. He batted 130 one time, 294 another, 235 another, and 211 another. There is 4 years in the postseason. With he had he did have home runs, but a ton of strikeouts and not really coming through.
Yeah, but like imagine if Bryce Harper was taking every at bat for the Philadelphia Phillies. I'd feel pretty darn good about that team.
Oh,
That's basically
Bryce Harper. You feel like he just has a magic about him right now.
Well, that's Hurts.
That is so. I believe in Hurts.
And Hurts touches the ball every single time for the Eagles, whether he's handing it off, throwing it. Like that magic impacts the Eagles so much more, and that's why I think it's easy to say the Eagles are going to go back.
If you told me that looking at it, the Eagles are going to have another great run year, and the Phillies are going to make a great run in the postseason, I would 100% think the Eagles are making another great run, and I would be at 30% that the Phillies are. And I don't consider winning a wild card series as like you're in a playoff run. A playoff run is getting to the NLCS.
Yeah.
And again, if they go to, by the way, if the Phillies too, and this is something because Alan's asking me to go on the record, and I'll go on the record. If the Phillies get past the wild card series, which they should, if they host it, and then they go to the NLDS and they lose in 5 games and play tough, I'm not going to rip them. I'm not going to rip that. You go out there and you play toe to toe with the Braves in the wild card in the NLDS, and you lose a heartbreaker in 5. And you really show out. You play strong, you play tough, and you lose in heartbreaking fashion. No way would I rip them.
No,
you go out and get swept in the NLDS, absolutely worth ripping.
Atlanta's one of the best baseball teams of all time. This year's Atlanta Braves is going to be one of the great regular season baseball teams in the history of the sport.
There's the key.
I don't really care. Like, it's going to be tough. That's why I'm saying it's just like a coin flip at best. But then 30% is probably about where I'm at. 30 to 35%.
That's about where I'm at. That they can do it again.
Run. Yeah, but I'll take that.
Oh, absolutely.
There are a lot of teams with less than that. We just went through an 11-year playoff drought. And then last year, because they went to the World Series, now all of a sudden they have to do that every year? Like, no. I'm good with them improving their standing in the wild card race or the postseason standings. I'm good with them having a high ceiling, and take your chance.
Hey, one more here. Terrence asks, do you think a chance to build the momentum from the beginning, the wild card series being here, makes a big difference in how this team will then be ready for the NLDS?
It doesn't hurt.
I don't think it hurts either.
You know what I mean? Like, sometimes you can look to say, oh, is it going to help this and that and the other? Look at it the other way. Is it a hindrance?
No, it's good.
Do you gain more from winning on the road? You gain something from winning on the road, but you have other teams coming into this and make it be a remembrance to the Schwarbers and the Harpers and the Castellanos as to what a hometown crowd is in the playoffs here, and Trey Turner experiencing it for the first time. Yeah, I think it's pretty cool to have the first 3 games. 2 games, I should say here.
Remember last year, I like the 2 years. You say that. Last year, they played the last 9 on the road.
Yeah.
And then played the first 2 on the road, then the next 2 on the road. So last year, they played 13 games in a row away from home before they came home on that magical Friday afternoon when Spencer Strider got taken to the cleaners.
And some may say that was a big part of it.
It was like shaking up a soda bottle. Like it
was crazy.
It's that you open a soda bottle normally, it fizzes a little bit, and that would be the wild card series. Like you're still going to get the fizz, the carbonation, but if you shake it up for 2 weeks, then you get a home game against the Braves. Poof!
Oh boy,
thing blows up.
I just want it's great. And I still think it looks like it'll be the Cubs, but who knows? The Diamondbacks are right there in the mix, so could be any. Could be Cubs, could be Diamondbacks, could be Reds. I mean, you never know right now.
Could be the Giants. They're still hanging around.
Yeah, Giants are 6.5 behind the Phillies, though.
Yeah,
like they're sort of struggling. I saw the Cubs coming, but I don't know that the Cubs hold off the Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks have been almost just as hot.
It'll be fun.
They play 7 times in the next till November 17th.
It's fun to watch it as long as you're the top team.
And you get to watch them beat each other up. Hey, football is back, and Connor wants to ask an interesting question that he asked this weekend that he had no answer for. Sounds compelling. Stick around. John Kincade Show, 97.5, The Fanatic. Football's king, and it's back.
in Burlington, Philadelphia. A Beasley Media Group station. Official home of the Sixers, Flyers, Union, and the best Eagles talk in Philadelphia. 97.5 The Fanatic. Now, back to the John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic, Philadelphia.
John Kincade Show on The Fanatic. You know, you may not always need a new water heater, but when you do, choose Bradford White. Bradford White's here for the pro.
Pat's a better dancer. Sorry, Connor.
You dancing, Connor?
He was jamming a little bit when this
I was
came
just
back.
like leaning a little bit.
Yeah.
Connor's got the victory shirt on.
Yes, I do.
That thing's going to be hanging itself up by October.
Yeah, it's falling apart.
It's got to be.
You can see it like shredding a little bit.
But it's,
here
you know
and
what, though?
there,
That
and
means you have to wear it more. And so hopefully they'll give you plenty of reasons to do that.
Just got to make it to November. We're good.
I got to tell you, I saw not one, but two people at the Phillies game when we went last Wednesday had the exact same shirt on.
I saw a couple on the not Wildwood Boardwalk, on the Ocean City Boardwalk. There is a sports store that had some really great merchandise. And right as you walked in, I've got the girls got me the Eagles and the Flyers sort of really loud, crazy shirt. And there was one for the Phillies, and I almost pulled the trigger. It's $100 though. I wasn't pulling the trigger.
This was a free giveaway.
I wasn't pulling $100.
You got a free bowl of soup with it too, right?
No.
And T-Mac and Kruk got that shirt, I guess.
I guess
All that
everyone
on the
has
way.
it. Yeah, it was
So that's
Father's
good.
Day like 4 years ago.
Why did you get a gift for Father's Day?
Well, it was any guy over the age of whatever who went to the game.
Really?
got the shirt.
Okay.
Yeah, I literally forced my dad to go to the Phillies game that day because I wanted the shirt. So that's what we did for Father's Day.
I got bad news from Chris O'Connell at Fox 29.
Uh-oh.
This is incredible. Escaped murderer Danilo Cavalcante was seen and spotted on a trail camera last night at 10:33 outside the search zone near Longwood Gardens. So they believe he ditched and he got out of the search zone. So where they had everywhere that they potentially had circled, this 5-foot-tall man got out of it. How?
He's tiny.
How could this possibly be happening? They had a search zone. It's all circled, everything. And he is on a trail along Route 52 right near Longwood Gardens. Is this going to be part of the Christmas this year, Bob? Like as you go through and you see the
Longwood Gardens
see the
is
trees,
nice.
spot the fugitive at Longwood Gardens Christmas thing. So they put out the trees and everything.
And he's getting clothes now too because I'm looking at pictures on Twitter. And he's got different clothes than the ones he escaped from prison with.
Okay, that means he broke into a house and stole clothes.
He's also shirtless.
He's 5 foot tall. Where's he finding clothes?
5'2".
The baby gap.
No, he's 5. They say 5.
Okay.
They're like, is he small? I mean, he's really small.
Yeah.
If you saw him, it would be like seeing Shaq on the street, like you're seeing a 7-footer. This should not be. I don't know that this should be that hard unless he just hides behind bushes.
Possible.
Well, he's in the woods, so
No, he's out of the woods now. He's on a public trail.
I don't know.
I mean, it's unbelievable. This story. It gets crazier.
I'll tell you what, if he gets to Fishtown, I'll keep my eyes peeled.
I do not want Christina going to the Costco today. We might need some stuff at Costco. No, don't go to Costco. Our Costco is like right next to this, where this like trail is. My gosh. It's an incredible story.
Yeah, it's wild.
Hey, Connor asked an interesting question this weekend that he had no answer for. Are you allowed to ask questions that you don't have an answer for?
No, I was asked. An interesting
you
question.
were asked.
Yes. So
Okay.
I was down the shore with some buddies, and I have a friend who's a Patriots fan. We were talking about the game coming up and everything, and we were also talking fantasy football. And the Eagles have a very interesting running back room when it comes to fantasy, and when it comes to, I guess, reality football too. But he asked me a question and got super mad at me when I didn't answer it. Because I'm big on Kenneth Gainwell this year in fantasy. And he said, okay, well, who's going to lead the Eagles running back room in touches? I said, well, I'm not answering that question. You can never answer that with the Eagles because there's such a rotation most years that there's no way of knowing. First of all, do you guys agree with me in that there's no real way of knowing which one of those running backs is going to end up with the most touches before the year's over, or do you have a favorite?
If they all stay healthy, my favorite is DeAndre Swift.
Well,
As far as touches, so means See, I always wonder about that. Are we talking rushing attempts, or are we talking plays directed to you? So pass receptions, everything.
You said touches, so that's touches is receptions and running the ball.
Yeah, and that's the tough thing, right? If you take injury out of it, I'd probably also say DeAndre Swift. But we got to assume that those guys are not the most durable because they haven't been.
I think Gainwell gets the most touches.
That's where I lean too.
I sort of am feeling that way, that Gainwell's going to be the most touches, but it would be crazy.
But clearly, none of us feel that confident, unless you take injuries out of it, to pick any of these guys. Like, it's very much going to be a rotation. Do you think that they're eventually going to have someone take the lead job, or do you think it's how I feel and why I can't answer that question of it's just going to be a free-for-all all year for all of these guys, besides when you play the Giants and Boston Scott gets 40 carries?
No, I don't think so. Like, if you go in this Patriots game, and from what we've been told, it looks like DeAndre Swift is at least your first and second down guy.
Yes.
If that works this week, and he does really well, and we saw how well he did against the Eagles in the opener last year when he was with Detroit. Do you change that? 4 days later?
Well, yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
No, I think I think they're going to be, I think maybe willing to manipulate it week to week depending on who they're playing.
Yeah, I think that too.
That they're going to look at the matchup and they're going to say, okay, this is the week we do this. Because one of the things that Nick Sirianni and his staff have been so good at is being unpredictable. And I got to think that that's going to continue to be part of their repertoire.
And last year, Miles Sanders had an outstanding year. Very, very good year for the Eagles. But down the stretch, Kenneth Gainwell got hot, and he got a lot of opportunities, and we didn't see that in the regular season. So they've shown that even in big spots, they're willing to switch it up and go with the hot hand, even if the other guy's been producing. I think it's an incredibly interesting part of this team that they're talented. I really don't have a favorite option because I think they're going to win either way. I think any of those guys can be productive, barring injury, and we'll have to see how that plays out. But I'm very intrigued to see who ends up getting the most touches and why. It's a very talented running back room, in my opinion.
It was I'm a big believer in Nick Sirianni and his staff the last 2 years, the way that they've mixed and matched and come. Their game plans, honestly, impressed me more than Andy Reid era game plans. I like how they would, 1 week they would do this, the next week, one week Jalen Hurts is a big part of the rushing attack. The next week he doesn't run at all.
I agree with all that.
And I love all that. But I actually do enjoy watching Nick Sirianni's approach to a game plan more than I would argue more with Andy Reid back in the day. I'd be like, what are you doing? Why are we doing this? Whereas I'm really believing in him and what he's doing.
The running back situation will be interesting because last year with Sirianni, it was more of all right, we're taking it away from Miles Sanders, I thought, because a trust factor came into play. It may have been after a fumble, forgetting to run out of bounds. Whatever it was, you would see more of Gainwell. Then you would see more of Scott. You don't have what the challenge is with this team now with Sirianni and the running backs is everybody seems to be about the same. Where do you use them best? It's not like a punishment type of, you're in now because he didn't do that. Right off the bat, it seems, all right, you have four guys whose capabilities are about the same.
Yeah.
I don't know. It might be the biggest question surrounding this, or maybe the only question right now surrounding this offense.
I think it's a better thing than last year. I think it's less thought process.
No, I don't.
You got a bunch of guys.
You don't. No. Not even close.
How many times last year did we say, why is Miles Sanders sitting right now? How many times when Miles Sanders was here were we like, why is he out on this third down? Why is he not starting the second half?
Yeah, but if there was only one running back to get you 15-plus carries last year, it was only Miles Sanders.
No, I got you. That's what I'm saying, though. Like, having the opportunity to have three guys, and then Boston Scott is kind of like a lower down,
right?
That might all be around the same skill level, might make the job easier for the coaching staff. Mess it up. Like, hey, DeAndre Swift down 1, Gainwell 2, DeAndre Swift 3. Like, just you can have a better, like a more even rotation when all the players are even.
I don't know. I think it's easier to me when I say one guy's going to be in there 75% of the time, as opposed to four guys having to be there 25%.
I think I'd agree with Bob that it's easier. if you feel that way. It's easier to know you've got the one dependable guy.
Maybe it's more fun to have the four guys, and the versatility that you can employ is I would say more fun, and I don't know about easier though. Well, I don't know if I can go easier.
You never take a step back. That might be a good thing for just the mentality of the offense.
Now, you're saying easier and good thing. Those are different things. Like these four guys could be more productive this year. Way more productive, and you say, oh, see that? But that doesn't necessarily mean it's easier for a coach.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I got you.
You're trying to get, I don't know.
Trying to get everybody happy, and you got DeAndre Swift in a contract year.
It's like coaching. I remember my first year coaching basketball, I kept like 16 kids on the team. And the head coach, the varsity came out, he's like, why'd you do that? And I was like, he goes, trust me, get your numbers lower. It makes things a whole lot easier.
Okay.
And absolutely right. But again, they could be better production this year with the four guys than with just Sanders and his replacements last year.
I love this. Yeah. I love that conversation, though.
Thanks, man.
Which is good.
The talent level just makes it so intriguing to me of who ends up taking the reins in there, if anyone does.
Yeah, I tell you, it's going to be the most interesting observation about this offense that I think I'm going to try to take away this Sunday.
9 o'clock hour of the show is brought to you by the Bagster. It's a dumpster in a bag. You can get yours today at Home Depot and Lowe's. And for details, go to Bagster.com. These aren't your daddy's Patriots. And it's one of those things, too, that slow starts are the new normal at Foxborough. So everybody's going to spook you this week about how the Patriots are this upstart team. They're a 7.5 win over-under projected team. And here's how they've done at home the last 3 seasons. Okay? So they're 1-3 to start last year, 1-3 to start the year before, and they lost the home opener in each of the last 2 seasons. They finished those seasons 4-4 at home and 4-5 at home. This is a really mediocre club at home. Last year, they lost in the first 3 games, they lost by an average of 9 points. In 2021, they lost the first 3 games of the year that they lost at home by an average of 6. All trailing by double digits, though, and they got it down to 6. They are slow starters at home. And by the way, under Bill Belichick's history, even with Tom Brady, much like Andy Reid, their worst month is September. Bill Belichick it's almost like he treats the first month of the season as an extension of training camp. And he was one of the first people not risking veterans during the summertime. People are going to try to spook you all week about the New England Patriots. The New England Patriots are not that good a team. And if you could point to me where you think they are better than the Eagles in a position group, I'd like to see it. Does it mean the Eagles couldn't lose the game? Sure. But what it tells me is the only way the Eagles lose the game is if they beat themselves. That is the only way this team is going down on Sunday, is beating themselves.
It's much like last year when they started out, 8-0?
8-0.
And got to, the incredible things they had. We talked about that the only team that really beat the Eagles once they got to 14-3 was the Eagles.
They lost the Commanders game because of stupid turnovers. Thanks, Quez, which was stupid. And a call at the end of the game that was ridiculous.
Yeah, the late hit.
The late hit on the quarterback.
Yeah, that was bad. But the Eagles didn't play well that game.
No, they did.
More than anything. But, going into this game, I'm not going to do it seasonally because I didn't last year. But going into this game, I'm kind of a believer right now, as we speak, that the only way the Eagles lose this game is if the Eagles beat themselves.
Connor, you sound the most confident, and I'm confident, but I'm not confident that it's going to. I took the over. I definitely bet. I laid the 3.5 already because I'm afraid that number may grow.
It probably will.
I'm getting in. I don't want it at 4, but I think it could be one of those games that they win 27-20, or it could end up being 30-23.
I'd call it a 1-score or less game for sure. I was having this argument with Pat while you guys were out, where he wants them to win by double digits or he's going to be upset. And I was like, well, it's week 1, dude. There's no style points week 1. Just go out and get everything started and win the game and take care of business. Like, Bob, what you're saying about last year is absolutely correct. It was where we got into that kind of zone where it was just like, oh, well, they're just better than everybody else, and we can trust our eyes because we've seen it. Now what this is like when I go ice skating. I know when I step onto a rink for the first time in like 2 years, like I know I could ice skate. But every time as I lace my skates up, I'm like, ooh, I really hope I don't just like slip as soon as I get out there and fall on my face. And then the second you take that first step, you're like, oh no, like I've done this for years. You just got it. We're taking the first step of this Eagles season. As soon as we see them handle the Patriots, it'll be right back to the, oh yeah, that's right. This team is still the team they were last year. They still have Jalen Hurts. They're still better than everybody else they're going to play, pretty much. Like, we just need to see that first in-game action to trust it.
Fair enough. But, yeah, fair enough. I'll agree with that. But like I said, I can't get there like I was last year after 8, 9, 10, 11 games. I can't get there going into this season.
No, and you shouldn't be.
Okay.
I don't think many people, I don't think rational people are.
This week, I believe the Eagles are the only team that can beat the Eagles.
Yes. And then in a week or two, once we see them win their first couple games, we reevaluate and we say, okay, yeah, they are the team we thought they were, but it'd be silly to go in thinking because they were that team last year, they're guaranteed to be that team this year. Got to see something before you can trust it, no matter how much track record they have.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the things. But here, though, am I getting this? Am I getting this right with you guys? That you're a believer that, I guess that you seem more confident in the Phillies. Honestly. No. I'm here with Bob. I'm saying more with Bob. Is that it seems more like, it's like, yeah, I believe the Phillies can do this. I look at the Eagles and just say, like, I think the Eagles, if they don't give me what I expect, I'm going to be floored. If the Eagles aren't one of the top seeds hosting a playoff game, win this division, I'm going to be floored.
I believe the Eagles are going to the Super Bowl. I mean, I don't believe the Phillies are going to the World Series. I said they could,
right,
but I don't believe that they're going to. Like, I'm not as confident. No way. I'm not as confident as the Phillies as I am the Eagles. No.
Where would your doubt meter on the Eagles though now? As far as just doubt that they can recreate the dominance they did last year. Just using the word dominance. That was absolutely dominant last year.
Yeah. Well, doubt is a pretty heavy word. And on a good team, doubt is kind of tough. I'll put it this way, because it's such a big word. I doubt they're going to have 70 sacks again. Now, that sounds silly, but because doubt is such a big word. Like, I don't doubt that they're not going to be as good as I think. I have concerns, questions about some spots where I think people are overlooking. And that is the safety and the linebacker position in particular. And you young kids up front.
You don't have you do or you do not have the, I guess, the pensiveness that I have about the corners. I really do. And it's terrible.
Well, as I brought up before, I think the corners will be good. Can they be as good as they were last year? And that's the theme to me all along that defense. Because, like I said, out of 11 starters you probably had, and one of them is gone, 2 of them are gone, and Hargrave and C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who had career years. And there's probably guys that are back on this team now, as many as 4, maybe 5 more, that had career years last year on this team.
I don't think you're
on the defense.
I'm not trying to like poke holes and say I think you're incorrect, because I think you make some very, very valid points.
I still think the Eagles are going to be a very, very good team. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm saying that there are spots that you need to focus in on as areas of questions.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it is. It's all right to It's all right to doubt. What you're doing with the Eagles is what I'm doing with the Phillies. It's the exact same thing. There is huge reason for doubt. That you can go, I can doubt this, I can doubt that, I can doubt, because last year, with anybody bringing up last year to me, I just shake my head. That was a outlandish run.
Well,
biggest out of nowhere run since the 2011 Cardinals.
Yeah, that's why they're not comparable, because the Phillies came out of nowhere. The Eagles were the best team in football all year long. Like, it's just,
they were awesome.
Yeah, it's not the same thing. And with this year, that's kind of where I think the mentality has to come in. The Eagles can be worse this year than they were last year and win it all. Like, that team was amazing last year. You don't have to be wire to wire perfect, greatest team in franchise history, 70 sacks, all these turnovers. Like, there could be a struggle here or there. There could be the corners aren't as good. There could be you don't get 70 plus sacks again, and they could still win it all, because
they absolutely could.
That's the thing. The standard doesn't have to be as statistically dominant as last year's team. It needs to be dominant over the NFC, win your division, make it in, go on a run. but like that, they can underachieve compared to last year and still overachieve when everything's said and done.
Could they be statistically better, Bob? Could they be statistically worse than last year, but a better team?
Well, I don't think that they're going to get 70 sacks, as we said.
Right.
I don't know that they're going to rush for, how many yards was it last year? 2,800?
2,100. 2,200 maybe? Something like that.
Sanders
it was
had
crazy.
13 on his own.
Sanders had 13 on his own, and I think Hurts was another
600, 700.
Yeah, I don't know that they're going to match that. I believe they led the league by far in rushing touchdowns. I think they were at like 32, and Dallas was next at 21. I don't know if they're going to reach that. I don't know if you're going to have two receivers that go for 1,000 yards. So, yeah.
But could they be a better team, but
Sure.
the statistics aren't as good?
Absolutely. No question about it. You could be a rock-solid defense, not get the 70 sacks. You could have maybe a rushing attack that is more evenly sprayed out, as Connor said, and your quarterback doesn't go for 600, and you don't have a running back that goes for one single running back that goes for 1,300. So, yeah.
Could Jalen Hurts have a less statistical year and be better?
Yeah.
And be better?
He definitely could.
See, now I got to tell you this, 22 passing touchdowns is not going to do it for me.
No, I know.
No, that his passing touchdowns this year, I think, need to jump to like 27, 28.
Well, they could, and his total
I think they
touchdowns
should
could go down because,
Right.
I don't know, maybe you give the ball to DeAndre Swift instead of running that QB sneak as much. Maybe he runs less and he gets less rushing touchdowns. Like, the way that you go about it can be different. The bottom line is this team is talented enough in a lot of ways. I just don't think we should go into the season expecting them to be last year's team.
No.
I think we should go into this season with the expectation for them to be great in their own way, and we'll determine how that's going to be by what they show us over the first couple weeks and then what we believe the rest of the way.
I mean, it kind of goes to, can they be better? Can they might not need Jalen Hurts to throw for 30 touchdowns. Like, this team might be built that way. It might be in Nick Sirianni and staff, when they get inside the 10, they like to run the ball.
Yeah, they love it.
You can compare 22 touchdowns to 31, where on those 9 touchdowns that Jalen Hurts didn't throw for, they ran the ball into the end zone each and every time.
Well, he had 15 last year. I mean, that's a lot.
Right, sure. So,
and most of them, would you suspect most of them were like 2 yards or less?
Oh, yeah.
Like, they were little.
That
they weren't
QB
really
sneak, push.
They weren't even running. And by the way, that's back. So the QB sneak is back next year. So you've got that all. It's just an interesting discussion because we're not used to this. We're not used to going into an NFL season where everybody is so confident.
No,
it's a new neighborhood for us.
And I think one of my topics a couple weeks ago before we went on vacation, John, was how weird I felt about it all. Like, there's no stories, good or bad. There's no big stories, I should say, good or bad. It's just, okay, here comes regular season. Yawn, 14-3. Here we come. I just don't think sports is that easy, and that's what.
And we're not used to it.
No, we're not.
So
at
that
all.
makes it uncomfortable.
Exactly.
Because we're used to angst storyline. We're used to more what the Sixers are going to give us this spring, which is a little. I mean, this.
So
this,
we're used
this
to the
fall.
crazy.
We're used to
what?
craziness.
You're not wrong.
We are. We're used to crazy stories.
We're used to big stories, or having to have big stories. We're not used to just, okay, yeah, we roll into another season. Because what this feels like to me, I think I said it when you were off last week. Brett Brown once told me, he had a line to me, we were talking about something. He said, it sounds odd, but literally, we just woke up and rolled into 50, 60-win seasons and got ready for the playoffs. And it stuck with me. Like, can you imagine being an NBA coach or an assistant coach and yawn, yeah, we're going to win another 50, 60 this year, no big deal. The biggest thing is the playoffs. That's nothing we've ever experienced here.
No.
That's what this is almost comparable to. Not that they've done it to the extreme that San Antonio did, but this is a yawn going to the season. They're going to win the division and probably the NFC and go to the Super Bowl. It's an odd feeling.
Bob wants to know where this guy's been or where this guy's going in the future for the Phillies. We'll get to that coming up. John Kincade Show. Really unfair. You're going to be peeling yourself off your
Home or on the go, listen to 97.5 The Fanatic on Odyssey on your smartphone, Roku, LG Smart TV, Waze, and more. That's Odyssey, AUDACY. Check it out now. Now, back to the John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic, Philadelphia.
John Kincade Show on The Fanatic. It's Eagles game week. We've got a game on Sunday. Do you like the 425? Because I do not. I like the 1. Now, Connor likes the 425 because he's doing post-game. I like 1.
I'll tell you what. For the season opener, I don't mind 425 because it makes it seem a little extra special. Like last year was a 1 o'clock game, and it was just kind of you rolled into, the season opener, here we go. I kind of don't mind it for the season opener. Normally, I'm a 1. I don't mind the 4:30 games.
So you don't mind 4:30?
No.
You like 4:30?
Yeah, I kind of do.
Well, that was really decisive of you.
I'm not very picky, right? It's kind of like the broadcast teams. I don't really listen to the broadcast all that much. I kind of zone out, and I'm yelling at the game so much I don't hear it. The time doesn't really matter to me all that much because my life revolves around football anyway, so it doesn't matter if it's 1 or 4 or Sunday night or Monday night. I don't know how I feel about it all that much, but I do like what Bob was saying, that it feels bigger. I have actually something we're going to get into coming up on this and a side effect of it. But as far as looking at week 1, yeah, I guess I like it. It's fine.
Bob wants to know about Christian Pache and Johan Rojas, as this becomes a interesting little quandary.
Now, let's see what's in Cooney's corner.
Probably the least concerning topic that you want to address, or one of them, as it comes to the Phillies getting into the playoffs and all, but something that interests me. Rob Thompson seems to have his favorites. We all know it. Kyle Schwarber and blah, 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 Bellotti, the guys that he brings out of the pen almost every other day, all of those things. I'm starting to really feel that Christian Pache, career 179 hitter, is one of his favorites. Johan Rojas comes up and gives you nothing but really goodness.
Oh, man.
Now, Christian Pache gets here, and Johan Rojas hasn't seen an at-bat this month.
Oh, yeah, it's the truth. He hasn't seen one this month.
And then, boom, there's Christian Pache, starting lineup. Okay, Christian Pache has 55 at-bats this year and is hitting 309. He's a career 179 hitter, in case I didn't say that. He's well known for his really, really good defense, Pache is. Okay. Rojas, 97 at-bats, is hitting 289, and we've seen the fielder that he is, and, I think we all have enjoyed that.
How about stealing bases, too?
And the speed.
He's unbelievable. Stealing bases, he's great.
And that's another thing. Pat Egan, remember him? He's a little guy who used to work here.
I remember him.
Or works here.
Used to work here.
He said last year, I think you need to have Johan Rojas on your playoff roster just as that stolen base threat.
Why
in the holy hell is he throwing in Christian Pache so much? Like, what are you doing?
Oh, no, he won't explain it to you. And this is where my frustration goes with Rob Thompson. He won't explain it. He won't explain the logic. I need to know the logic because I agree with you.
You guys are both very frustrated.
It's just there's no logic to it.
I do, and I'll tell you what, I am probably a little biased here. I have fallen in love with Johan Rojas. I really have. I love the way, obviously, that he fields the position, but he just looks kind of comfortable out there, and it seems like the teammates have really taken him on.
The pitchers are comfortable with him out there.
Yeah, and John, you mentioned the stolen base aspect of it all. I'm not really sure about this bunting thing that they seems to do a lot, but I just don't know why a guy that's an up-and-comer, a guy that's going to be in your organization for a while, why would you be doing this for Christian Pache?
I don't get it. But
I don't understand.
You have an explanation, you said?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And a relatively simple one to me. Bobby, do you still have the number of at-bats up there for each of them?
Yeah.
What are they again?
55 for Pache, 97 for Rojas.
Okay. There are two options. Either Pache's his favorite, or he kind of knows what he has with Rojas already. And he says, I've only seen 55 at-bats of Pache. I need to see more from Pache before the season's over.
Stop. The guy's been in the league for 4 years. He's a 179 hitter.
Stop.
No, I mean,
I'm not being mean.
I know
I'm
he's
just
a
saying,
179
You know
hit.
what he is.
No, you don't, because he just hit 309 through 55 at bats. So you think he's a 179 hitter? Guess what? We had the same argument about Brandon Marsh about a year ago, and he turned into a 291 hitter with a really good.
Which would make him as good as what Rojas has been 100
Nobody
at bats.
didn't want Brandon Marsh in there.
No, people didn't think he could hit. We're not
okay,
saying
I
we're
get
not
you.
saying didn't want him in there. This is not about who Rob Thompson wants to play or not. He's trying to get as much sample size on all of his guys before the postseason starts.
But you can't shut one guy down for now. It's 5 calendar days. You can't shut him down for 5 days. He was in a rhythm and he was playing. And by the way, his pitchers appreciated it and talked about it post game about him in center.
And guess what? If Christian Pache struggles and doesn't look like he deserves the opportunity, Johan Rojas is going to have plenty of time to get back in a rhythm before the postseason starts.
Why did Pache deserve to just give him no opportunity? That's my job.
Pache has hit over 300. He is a more veteran player. He was a higher level prospect when he came up. Christian Pache is a guy that has a better pedigree than Johan Rojas. I like Johan Rojas a lot. I don't know which one of them I like better in the outfit for this team.
Christian Pache has no major league pedigree. None. Zero.
What does Rojas have that
because
Pache
Rojas
is not?
The thing is Rojas has not failed as much as Pache's done in his baseball career.
Because he hasn't had as much opportunity to fail. Why? We're treating Johan Rojas like he's an MVP candidate.
You know what he is?
No. Let's
Nobody's
not get carried
saying
away
that
here.
Nobody's saying that.
Him and Pache there are marginal differences between those guys.
Okay, fine. So why wouldn't you go with the guy that's going to be in your organization for years to come?
Why wouldn't Pache be in your organization for years to come?
But
the worst team in baseball was get lost.
They're the same guy.
They are not the same guy.
Not when he has potential the way he does. No, I don't. I disagree with you.
Rojas is a better defender. Pache is a really, really nice. I would put Marsh good, Pache very good, and I think that Rojas in the field is excellent. The ground he covers, it's better than Pache. I've watched Pache since the minor leagues. I'm hearing an analysis. I don't even hear Major League Scouts have this kind of opinion on him.
Rojas won an NL Defensive Player of the Month type of award from something last month. He's an incredible defender.
Run saved or something like that? Defensive run saved?
But acting like he's head and shoulders above Christian Pache is just it's just not accurate.
That's not what I'm saying.
You're not saying that.
So then...
You can't shut him down. He deserves to be playing. He doesn't deserve to Pache comes back and he plays every day.
He doesn't deserve to be playing. It's not about who deserves to be playing or who doesn't. I know more about Johan Rojas. I want to learn more about the other guy I don't know. So I'm going to play the other guy more. And then if I find out the other guy stinks compared to the first guy, I'm going to give the final 2-3 weeks of the season to Johan Rojas, and he's going to be plenty warm, and he's going to go into the postseason as your guy. We're not.
That is nothing. That doesn't sound like anything that Rob Thompson would do. Rob Thompson worries about 25-year-olds having days off. That doesn't sound like anything that he would do.
And so you don't buy that he's evaluating a player that's only got 55 at-bats this year to try and figure out if he can play him in the postseason over the guy who has 97 at-bats?
I think there's a preference. For some reason, he likes Pache. I think that's Rob Thompson's history.
Likes both of them.
What Bob says is true. He plays favorites. This guy plays favorites. And he worries about people's comfort levels.
Well, I would say that the guy that has 55 at-bats this year is not exactly in favorites territory.
Yeah. It's a weird dynamic because you know what? You'll never get an explanation from him. You won't. You can ask him. He'll never be able to articulate why he's doing anything that he does.
The way I started this all was saying this was an argument probably way down the line as far as things go. It's just something that I don't understand. I got people here saying Rojas stinks at the plate.
What?
Oh, okay, he can't. I don't like the way he bunts.
He stinks at the plate?
I think he looks pretty comfortable at the plate.
Yeah,
I've been surprised how comfortable he looks at the plate. He's hitting 289. It's only 100 at bats. But I just think with I just don't like Pache coming in taking at bats away from Rojas. I don't. I think you know what he is. I really do. 179 over 3-4 years in the major leagues tells me kind of what he is.
And tossed aside by two different organizations, one that evaluates talent extremely well and one that doesn't.
Yeah, I was going to say, he got tossed away by one organization.
And one that doesn't.
The Oakland Athletics don't deserve to be called an organization.
They did the same conclusion the Braves came to, though.
Yeah, well.
They came to the same conclusion. He's just not good enough to be. He's not going to crack our
I don't trust the Athletics' conclusion on anything baseball.
No, I don't either. But I do trust the Braves. Yeah.
Absolutely. So,
but I hope the guy does well. But Rojas is a better option in center field, period. He's a better option in the field for helping this team.
We haven't seen enough of either of them. And Pache has less this year. So he's playing the guy who just became healthy that you have less of a sample size on. Ideally, when you get into the postseason, you got even sample size on all your guys. So you can evaluate on an even playing field, apples to apples, not 100 bats for Rojas and 55 of Pache.
I'm just not going to I'm not shutting one guy down to take a look at another.
He's not getting shut down.
It's 5 days.
That's not shut down. Pitchers go 5 days between starts.
I understand,
he will be okay.
Guys that are getting in a rhythm at the plate, 5 days is absolutely something.
But a rhythm at the plate doesn't really matter right now. Like, maybe evaluating talent is more important to Rob Thompson than whether or not Yohan Rojas is playing well, because they're still going to win games and they're still going to be the top wild card. And knowing what you have might be more important than Rojas playing well on September 4th.
I think it's easier than we're all making.
Or 5th.
You're talking about a 9-hole hitter. Who cares what they're going to do at the plate, right? Who cares? If you get anything extra, great. So now you're talking defense. At best, a wash. I think Rojas is probably better, but at best a wash.
Yeah.
Now you're talking about base running. I want Rojas there every time on first base rather than Pache.
Right.
I mean,
I'm not disagreeing with that.
Yeah. So
what does he have to evaluate?
There's nothing to see here.
The guy's had 55 at-bats with the organization. That's
He's
not
had
a big enough sample
363 at-bats in his life. He's a 179 hitter.
Yeah, and
Rojas has had 100 at-bats, 97 at-bats in his life. He's hitting 289.
Right.
Nothing to see here. We're not talking about
No. Stop. Because we're acting like we haven't seen massive turnarounds in multiple young players' games with this organization in the past year. Bryson Stott has become one of the best hitters in baseball from getting sent down last year. Alec Boehm got sent down 2 years ago. He looks amazing. Brandon Marsh was a cast-off of the Angels organization. Now he's a solid
So you're going to find out in 50 at-bats from either one of those guys, similar to what the guys you just said?
No, you're not going to. You're not going to find it out. But you want more sample size because things can change.
Why can't he play 3 games? The other guy plays 1. The other guy plays 2 games. The other guy plays 2.
He might. He's been back for 4 or 5 days.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Christian Pache. Once again, I'll say I'm biased on this.
Yeah, I think you're off.
Hey,
I think they're closer than you think.
We're not getting anywhere with this one, but we'll see. We'll watch it too and see how it checks out.
John just threw off the white flag.
I mean, it's just too much. Hey, by the way, the ticks are in season. So if you're an escaped convict or something out there with no shirt on, you got to be careful because many of the ticks carry diseases. They can be in fields, fairways, picnics, parks, backyards, baseball fields. Protect, check, remove. Learn more at health.pa.gov/ticks. Paid for with Pennsylvania taxpayer dollars.
If the cops don't get them, the ticks will.
Yeah, I'm serious. Where he's walking shirtless, he's walking in areas where there's ticks everywhere. He's probably seen deer. Now, unfortunately, he hasn't seen law enforcement.
What would be the toughest thing? All right, you're Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. You're like on your 6th day on the run.
Hungry.
Missing the barbecue that I had this weekend.
Hunger's probably right up there.
Hunger would absolutely be it for me.
I got to say the anxiety of just knowing someone's looking for you. So that probably lends to little, if any, sleep.
You got life in prison facing you, though, and they say he's heading south now where he broke that perimeter. He's heading down like towards, I guess, trying to get towards Delaware, where right now he's probably 3 miles from Delaware, or like when they spotted him on camera.
Yeah,
so he could walk into Delaware. And by the way, those roads back there, like it's very rural and there's lots of trees. I mean, he has plenty of places to hide.
He's only got 20 more states till Mexico. He might make it.
And he's the Keebler elf. I mean, he's 5 foot tall.
Now let's be easy with that. Because
what?
Pat might be listening right now.
Wait a minute. Pat's 5'3"?
Yeah.
He's 5 foot. A 5 foot guy walking on the street. If you see him, you'll be like, come on.
Yeah, but Pat's going to hear this and think, is this what they think about me? But won't say it?
No,
so I'm going to be nice.
Pat's not a fugitive.
I hope they find this very normally sized convict.
By the way, Tyler Zulli was talking to Tyler over the weekend. His golf game's struggling, by the way. He said that he was at a function, a work function, and one of the guys who works at his office and his business listens every day, named Dante. So, Dante, we appreciate you listening and know that Tyler Zuli's got your back. Making sure that we know about it. And he says he listens every day and he loves the show.
Appreciate it,
So I want to
Dante.
give a little shout out there to Dante. Good job, Dante. And hopefully you're enjoying yourself. Connor, you had something on the Eagles' schedule
I do.
you wanted to get into here.
Yeah, we kind of touched on it a little bit, but we know they play a bunch of 4 o'clock or primetime games or everything this year. It's a little bit different, and it gives you an interesting opportunity for the way you're going to watch football this year. Because normally it's 1 o'clock. Most of the games are at 1.
Oh, yeah.
You go ahead and you're focused on the Eagles, then you see what happened, and then you pick the 4 o'clock game you want to watch, and you then watch the primetime games. But this year, you have a very interesting opportunity to probably see more football than in previous years because of the amount of 1 o'clock time slots you'll have open not watching the Eagles. So, with that in mind, my question to you guys is, Eagles play at 4, Eagles play at 8, Eagles play Monday night. What's the team that you'd be making appointment viewing this year? Just looking at them now. Not obviously, we'll have teams that become interesting over the course of the season, but do you have a team outside the Eagles that your 1 o'clock slate is going to be, I got to watch X team play?
If Dallas ever plays at 1 o'clock, I'm watching every single time because I think they're the biggest threat. If the 49ers play at 1, they're a huge threat.
So you go Eagles related as far as opponents.
I do. Oh, yeah. I always will try that. And now I guess I got to figure out how to navigate the new NFL Sunday ticket. I always go by I always go in division, too. If there's a divisional game, if the Giants are playing the Commanders, then I'm watching that game primarily, and that's on the flip with the Red Zone channel.
Gotcha.
To go back and forth.
I go what I think is going to be most entertaining. Best game, I'll say. Put that in quotes. 2 best teams playing each other. That would be my number one.
So you do that. You go best teams.
I do.
Do you
Yeah,
have
I
a
want to
team-
see just good football. That'd be where I went.
Do you have a team that intrigues you that you're like, I want to catch as many of this team's games as possible?
At some point in the season, every team, and at some point in the season, I'll say, "Ooh, who haven't I seen much of?" And I'll make sure to watch them. Specifically in the NFC, you want to catch every NFC team, especially the good ones. Like if Washington's playing. Well, I shouldn't say Washington.
Washington was playing.
They're 8-8,
Right,
but you know what I mean. If like a Tampa Bay's playing Washington, it doesn't intrigue me all that much. But a team that Kansas City's must see.
Yes, they are.
Now
Always entertaining.
the Jets with Rodgers this year because
That's mine.
yeah,
Is it really?
Yeah, I
Yep.
want to see whether good or bad. I want to see how it's going. Yeah, and
That's
we get
week
them
6
Monday
too.
night.
That's week 6 too, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, if they're on at 1 o'clock, I'm probably picking the Jets game just because of the circus surrounding them. And I want to see what Rodgers has and everything. But I really think we're going to realize how much more we see of other teams in the NFL just from a viewing experience standpoint this year because the Eagles have so few 1 o'clock games.
That makes sense.
It really
does.
opens up
And
the
that's
slate.
shocking, Connor. I mean, you haven't made much sense this morning. That's a really great point.
Come on.
I think that's a great
Cheap
point.
shot.
I think that's a cheap shot. That's it. You've made some sense.
Yeah, just a little
You
bit.
made some sense.
But
No,
I
I think that's an interesting angle.
I look forward to it because there's no football season for me. There's Eagles season. Like I don't get the chance to focus on the NFL as much as I feel like I want to because the Eagles are so much more important than any other game going on.
Are you an NFL fan or are you an Eagles fan?
Oh, always an Eagles fan. Like the NFL will be more so that I'm an NFL fan than any other sport because like baseball, I'm so far and above a Phillies fan than a baseball fan. Same with hockey, same with basketball. Football's the closest difference, but I'm still taking the Eagles over the NFL.
I hear people say all the time, more one sport over another. I'm an NBA fan.
Yeah.
More than I hear I'm a Sixers fan.
I don't get that at all.
I don't get it either. Like, I mean, it's just nothing's going to if the San Antonio Spurs win or the Cleveland Cavaliers win, it means nothing to me.
Bobby, any explanation for that?
Do you believe that that's because it's the most popular sport with younger fans?
I think it's individualized. You can. I think people can relate to NBA players sometimes more than say NFL because this sounds weird. You can see their faces; they're recognizable. You know who they are. You have somebody that people will argue is the greatest player of all time playing right now. with a bunch of people right behind him trying to fill that spot. I just think relatability as far as fans and NBA goes is big. I mean, think about it. They're right there on the floor, pretty much in their underwear, right in front of you every night. And you can recognize these guys right there. Football, there's a lot of players on the Eagles. You could line them up in front of me, and I'd be like, who the hell are you?
Also, too, you could play, like, there's Phillies players, there's Eagles players that you could play their voice and nobody would know their voice. JT Realmuto, we could play 3 people and nobody would be able to tell you what JT Realmuto sounds like.
Yeah.
Like the NBA creates characters, creates storylines, drama. They're bigger than life.
Yeah, they're just right
and
there.
And sometimes marginal players are.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. The Kid Reeves for the Lakers is now all of a sudden becoming this, grand superstar all around.
Oh, my gosh.
USA's beating Italy. I think they're beating their pants off at halftime.
Well, they should be, right?
Well,
you said they're out there in their underwear.
Yeah.
I think Salchunas put the fix in. He's got some connections now as he increases his standing in the industry. I think he called in a favor on that Lithuania-USA game.
I don't know.
It could have been.
I mean, believe me, there's been fixed games before.
I know.
We know that. He's got to be excited about Lithuania, though.
He's very excited.
They're getting thumped right now by, I believe, Serbia. So
yeah,
he's not all that excited right now.
I'm going to give you it's just my whole idea right now on this, just as far as how this shakes out, is I want to learn about people on the Eagles schedule. So if they're playing the Jets in a couple weeks, I'll want to watch the Jets if they play in a 1:00 game and the Eagles aren't playing.
Yeah.
So I'll not that I have a scout's eye, but I pretend like I'm scouting.
I'm totally opposite. Like I want to watch, if I'm watching not an Eagles game, I want to watch a team that has nothing to do with the Eagles.
Wow. So you'll watch like an AFC game between the Chargers and the...
Yeah.
I want to be entertained.
So Chargers, Raiders, you watch it more as entertainment when it's not an Eagle.
I feel like rooting interest I very rarely don't watch a sport with a rooting interest. So to have that opportunity is something I don't get very often. I wouldn't want to spend that on watching Dallas play, watching a team the Eagles are playing the next week.
And I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. No, you got it. It's
and
just
let's
like
be honest. Fantasy football comes into play.
A little bit.
A lot bit. It does
a lot.
I mean, if my quarterback's playing in a game that really doesn't mean much, I'm probably going to steer towards him. So it's, whatever. But as much football as you consume, that's all that matters.
I did
on a Sunday.
By the way, I did not like our fantasy football quarterback that we ended up with that sort of went. But everybody that I talked to goes, "Oh, that's awesome."
Yeah, we'll be fine.
Then we have Lamar Jackson.
Well, we have the Ravens total quarterbacks.
We have the Ravens total quarterbacks, yes.
Okay. Which I think is valuable because Tyler Huntley has played a lot lately.
He had very good.
He plays a similar style to Lamar. So we'll see.
I have my fantasy draft for the league I've been in for 25 years on Wednesday.
Is this with the newspaper?
Thursday.
Or your buddies?
No, newspaper.
It's
the only one I'm in.
And they do a big. You guys all get together for it too, don't you?
So we all get to. Our draft starts at 7, and we're done by kickoff of the first game of the season.
That's
8:15.
fast.
It's all sports guys. There's no messing around.
Oh, I love that.
I would take TJ Hushmanzada.
Yeah, I think that'd be one that I would consider.
Year. Not bad.
All right, Phillies in action tonight as we round out today's edition. And I would say that with the Phillies in San Diego, you want to continue, first of all, win a series. Win a series against the Padres. And really, honestly, one more loss probably kills the Padres season again. The Phillies again being the team that wipes them out. But I'm more worried about Michael Lorenzen because things have certainly changed in his talking points in the last few starts. And I wonder, is he a guy who's just going to be totally meant for the bullpen from this point on? You start him a couple more times, and then you just put him in the bullpen and hope that he regains some sort of form.
Yeah, it's a tough thing to read because I brought it up when they moved, when they traded for him at the deadline. I was like, well, my biggest concern is the innings numbers. And he came here and looked good. And now is this just a question of he's had a couple rough starts and he's going to bounce back? Or is it a question of he's getting too deep into innings counts to really be as productive as he was? So if he goes out and has like 2 more good starts the rest of the year,
then you'd be okay.
Yeah, I feel comfortable with him. He threw a darn no-hitter. Like, that shows you what his ceiling is, but he does have to show you more the rest of the way to make me comfortable starting him in a postseason game.
By the way, he's another one that on the record, if he had an opportunity as a starter, he'd prefer to throw every fifth day.
Yeah,
that's Wheeler. That's Lorenzen on the record. They'd prefer to do 5-man rotation.
Yeah. Well, I'd prefer to.
They don't like long.
Robbie.
They don't like. They don't like long.
Exactly.
They don't like long.
Sometimes
layoffs.
you gotta.
I
Go ahead
prefer
and
to
deal
work
with it.
2 hours, but they make us sit here for 4 hours. Like sometimes the boss has to make the call.
Damn that Joe Bell.
But it's funny. This is how reactionary things are. Like you were making the correct argument a couple weeks ago, John, that this guy's been the best starting pitcher of all Phillies pitchers. And that, you were strongly saying, so there's no doubt about it. Now he's had a couple of bad outings, and it's like, does he get thrown to the bullpen? That's why you just got to let it play out. And more so in baseball than any other sport. You just got to let it play out. Now, hopefully the play out comes only to about a week to go in the season where it's all played out.
That would be fantastic.
Then you can figure out exactly what we're talking about here. But yeah, you just got to see. He might be lights out as next 3 starts, and it would be ridiculous to think, why would you put him in the bullpen?
By the way, I can't believe how great that lineup is for San Diego and how crappy that team is. I mean, it's unbelievable.
I don't understand it at all, how they're not any better. But I think it's that organization in the locker room kind of fell apart with the Tatis stuff.
The Tatis stuff, too. But, again, the Manny Machado I go back to, this is completely unfair. I shouldn't even say it. But but I'm being honest. When I watch Manny Machado, I see a guy that I think has the illusion or the air about him that, I got a hit or I got a home run or I got a walk or I got a strikeout, that he really doesn't care.
Yeah, it's weird, right?
He has an illusion of that. I'm not saying that's the way it is.
The Phillies and Padres built the team a very similar way. They went and got a bunch of offensive players and everything like that. Now, Padres probably better defensively, but
much better.
You're right. When I look at the Phillies, I say the biggest difference between them and the Padres is this locker room is insanely close. And I know vibes is a weird thing to say, but the vibe around this Phillies team is great. And I've never looked at Machado like not a bad locker room guy, but a guy who creates locker room culture. I've never looked at Soto like that. I've never looked at Tatis like that.
I think that's fair.
I've never looked at Bogarts like that. And I'm not saying they're bad guys. When you see Kyle Schwarber, everyone's like, greatest locker room guy on the planet. When you see Bryce Harper, it's like, he's grown into a great leader.
And he was considered not a great locker room guy in Washington.
JT, Reese, I mean, say what you want about players, but these are guys that I think are great in the locker room, and I think that might be the difference.
To take that further, because that's kind of intangible. That's something you can't touch. You can't really. If Trey Turner was on San Diego and started this season the way he did, and the culture being there what it is, I don't know if he could have broke out of that this season. Or had to do whatever he did to break out of that.
It's tough to say.
It is tough to say. I'm just saying maybe that's something that when this season's over, he's going to say, look, this locker room helped me so much. The fans, all this and that. There was intangibles that helped him get out of this slump besides the loosening of the hands on the grip, which he talked about last week. But I wonder. I do wonder about that. Those intangibles, I think, are pretty big.
John, you're right, though. The vibe about the Padres team, and whether it's Machado, Soto, whoever you want to say on that team, it's just not as positive as the Phillies day in and day out. And I don't know what it is.
Well, I looked at it yesterday, and again, they were losing 8-1.
Right.
When I left 8-4 is when I went into bed, put it on the app, and was just listening. And I could say the body language of the Padres suck. There's no the camaraderie of the Phillies bench, the guys up on the railing, the guys watching everything. The Padres have a laid back. Maybe it's Southern California. Maybe it's just the energy.
Could be that they're basically out of the play.
They're losing.
They're losing. I don't know what it is, but I have felt it for a while, and it's just one of those weird things where an organization works and one doesn't, and it's hard to say why it does. But thank goodness we're not on that side, right?
Oh, I'll tell you, that would be disastrous.
It would be.
If this team did make the playoffs, but my nagging concern is they didn't bolster this bullpen. At the trade deadline, they did not bolster the bullpen. They went now. Lorenzen may end up being a guy who helps them there, but I still think that's
the kid Hoffman and Strom are probably the two ones that stopped them made them think twice about doing it.
I like them both. And Hoffman has some really crazy numbers right
Yeah.
now. He's got some crazy good splits, I guess.
Yeah.
That set him up nicely.
Remember what I told you about last year, though? Their bullpen in 2022 was 23rd in the regular season in all of baseball. And then in the postseason, they had a 2.62 ERA. They turned it on.
One of our listeners said, though, that the bullpen did get considerably better down the stretch.
Yeah.
This year's bullpen's getting worse because last year they were digging out of that early season hole. And
Right. Yeah, and they got really hot at the end. But we're not at the end yet. Remember, we're getting caught up in the day-to-day
We
a
got
little
25 days left.
We still got
25
some
games
time.
left.
We'll see.
I feel like it's a game of kick the can.
It is. Welcome to baseball.
We've kicked the can too far down the road to keep saying, we still got time. Still got time. This is like my wife saying, we're leaving at 5, right? Oh, no, I'm fine. And it's 4:45. And it's 4:50. And it's 4:55.
Yeah, when was the last
no,
time you ever saw me late anywhere, Johnny?
They
I
are
never
where
kick the
we
can.
predicted them to be. They go 13-12. It's 89 wins.
Yeah, I had 92. Mine was 92.
They're right there.
Yeah.
Right where everybody thought they were going to be.
Maybe it's just not
Might
as...
not have gotten there the same way. Might
Exactly.
have had to go through Woods and Westchester and stuff like that to get there. But you're going to wind up
By the
there
way,
anyway.
If one of our listeners ends up being the person that finds the thing, we're going to get him some great prizes. If you lead
Give
to
out a reward for
if
this?
you lead
If
to
you
the
find
yes,
what? The
if
guy?
you were able to find the 5-foot man that has somehow managed to elude the FBI, local authorities, and everything, and is somehow still on the run. If one of our listeners is involved in it, we're going to make sure they get Fan Fest
We'll get
tickets
you a
next
We
year.
fanatic
don't
pen.
encourage that.
No.
What do you mean? Like
I don't think state
call
troopers that are
911.
loaded
Yeah.
with
No, call
okay.
911.
I thought you meant you wanted them to
you're-
put on the eye black.
No,
and get
I don't
out
want them to go
there.
out there and
on
do
them.
it.
Let's go.
Hey, support life-saving cancer research. Join us, our generous partners. Win donation and make a donation to the American Association for Cancer Research today. Go to 975thefanatic.com/AACR because cancer research saves lives. We greatly appreciate you every single day, and it's going to be a great football week as we lead towards the opening kickoff. You know, Cuz Radio is going to be off the chain. That comes your way next. Do the kids still say